Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Saturday morning, the 26th of May, especially for me, it's Saturday morning. Welcome to Shoot. Oh, crud. Here we go. Fix that.
Oh, you want to fix that? Okay.
I did. I took care of it. I had another window open that was the show. Anyway, so I was hearing myself a second time. Great.
Great. Number one, we had technical difficulties on the 10th second. That must be a record.
Yep. Anyway, it's
Number two.
I'm your host, TakersMinion. This is Shooting the Breeze, episode number 45, Revelling in the Madness.
Yep.
I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and partner from Kyoto, Japan, Mr. Dr. Senju. And good morning to you, sir, I believe.
Hello. Not yet morning. Well, okay, technically it is 12:06 now. So
Yes,
morning it is. Morning
Yep.
it is. Number one. Number two, where's my onigiri? I clearly put it somewhere. Anyway, never mind talking about food. And number three, we already blew the load with our guest host.
Yeah, we have a guest this week.
But before that, how are you today, good sir?
I'm fine. I mean, I'm a little tired. I have, my emotions have been on a roller coaster all week, but we'll get into that later.
Mm-hmm. I'm great. If you must know,
Yeah,
if you must know. Yeah, I'm still hungry. That's why the second question was up. Where's my onigiri? I actually had one. Yeah, I've been going to this regular sushi bar, and usually they had very good onigiri with chicken floss inside, or mackerels, or squid, or even tuna for that matter. It's all good.
But you're not usually having squid balls.
No, I'm not having squid balls. Don't worry. The memories of whenever it was episode 30 something with squid balls and whatnot come to mind.
Yes.
That's a long time ago, my friend. But anyway, how about you, good sir? Aside from all the tiredness and aside from all the emotion.
It's been a rough week at work. I mean, I've been dealing with a lot of assholes, but that goes with the hospitality industry and the time of year we're in.
So I've heard, because, well, we already talked about how, well, it is the college graduation season coming up.
Yes.
Coming, or already came.
We got high school graduations tonight and tomorrow. Tonight, we got a college graduating tonight. We got 4 colleges in this town, so it's crazy.
Of course. Okay. All that aside, like I said, we already blew our load a little bit too early on the guest house.
Yep. We have a guest this week, as we stated. It's someone who is responsible for me becoming a podcaster. He created this monster. Mr. Fitzpatrick. Good morning, Fizz.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to another edition of Shooting the Breeze, and I'm so excited today.
Why is that?
Folks, I have had a very, very busy May as far as anything is concerned, because I had to deal with some family drama. My grandfather passed away earlier in the month.
I'm sorry.
I know that. Yeah, I heard your condolences, man. Thank you for that. And dealing with some other stuff in May. The car, basically, the pulley busted on the thing. Car spent 2 days in the mechanic's garage that we limped it to. We were out in the middle of the countryside, and the belt had frayed, and then we found out the pulley was broken on the thing. So, oh, great. That's nice. That's a universal camshaft belt. So it was like, it's the thing that powers the battery, the power steering. It's one of those all-in-one units. So
serpentine belt, so to speak.
Yeah, serpentine belt. So had to go for all that. Went through the first half of May, and also had to deal with my usual issues with allergy season, which of course happens around this time of year. Usually happens in April, but because of the delay, because of all of the extra weeks of winter, it ended up happening in May. But it wasn't as bad as it usually has been this year, so I'm feeling really good today. I have not done any podcasting in a couple weeks, so I'm rearing to go on this edition of Shooting the Breeze, because, in all honesty, Shooting the Breeze is one of those podcasts where I feel very relaxed because I'm in the basically a role of guest slash second co-host, as person
Slash
to
mad
deal
scientist. Slash
Sla-
mad scientist.
slash mad scientist because, like as Taker said, I'm one of the reasons why he's here. Besides the fact that he decided to take his own initiative and do this whole podcasting thing.
Well, I didn't know I was going to enjoy it that much until I did it on
Mhm.
Speaks for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I became obsessed with finding a partner,
Mm-hmm.
and I found one of the greatest partners to have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Well, truth.
always really reminded me of that one, but
Well, hey, it's like I've said constantly in the past to you. It's one of those things where it's a hobby for you that is a constructive hobby, and it's a thing that both yourself, Senju, and Legends Lover, who's probably in the background at this point, all enjoy doing because it's a nice constructive night hobby.
Well, if you look at it, Fizz, with this, as you are well aware,
Mhm.
I myself and Biff Kensington III just started we started a podcast, and we added Legends Lover to the fray
Mhm.
as the official curator of our history that we talk about.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad to have her on that show because that's something I've wanted to do for quite a while.
Mhm.
And it's nice to have her on there.
Mhm.
So,
And here's the thing: if Biff somehow gets historical context wrong, then you and LL are going to be throwing darts at the guy because, especially if it regards around the AWA, which I know that Legends Lover is a big fan of and has seen all of the old episodes of.
oh, sure, like I did too.
Yeah, same with you.
And the thing about it is that just the other day in the community I belong to, in one of the threads, someone put up a picture of the Crusher with a title belt around his waist. It was a tag team belt, and I started talking about that, and I said something about, he would say, I'm going to go home and go to the bar and drink beer and poker with the dollies all night, And I put that quote in there, and we started talking about the 100 megaton biceps and everything else. Those days are gone. Those days are gone.
because those stories are now replaced with social media, Twitter, Instagram posting,
Which has ruined the business, in my opinion, but I'm not going to go any further than that.
Well, okay. Let's put the whole story about the whole wrestling stories aside, and let's poke our fingers in on why we actually brought Mr. Fitzpatrick here today. As some of you may not know, we have the summer Basho, and these two folks watched it. I don't. I do not.
I watch it
But
live.
I do know. Yeah. Taker watched it live, and like I said in the past couple of episodes earlier on, this guy has been so absorbed into the whole thing.
Well,
But at least I know some of the stories. The biggest headline being that, Kakuryu has a 13-1 win, one win ahead of Tochinoshin, who has 12-2 on the 15-day tournament.
And Hakuho is bringing up the rear, 11-3. Now, who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? And I'm going to ask you this, Fizz. Who'd have thought Hakuho would have 3 losses in his first full Basho back after being out for a Basho and a half?
He usually averages about 3 losses per Basho, actually. Sometimes he'll get lucky and he'll get 1 loss per Basho, but sometimes he gets 3. Usually he loses to an Ozeki, and usually he loses to a Megashira wrestler occasionally. Not often, occasionally. Hakuho has been a guy that this Basho, he's had to use a lot of trickery to get past a lot of his opponents.
Oh, yes.
And the one time he decided to not use trickery in this situation was he decided, I'm going to try and do an old school Yoshi Sumo Basho, which is basically belt fighting Basho, with Toshin freaking Notion. A guy
was
who
a
has been
mistake.
literally a guy who had been a steamroller for the majority of this Basho. And he figured that, oh, well, I'm strong enough to lift Toshinoshin out. I've beaten him 25 times in a row, basically. Well, not this time, especially with Hakuo's still injured foot. He still wasn't able to
He
get
was able to lift Tochinoshin up, but he
Yeah.
wasn't able to move forward.
Yeah, because of the injury to his Achilles tendon.
And he's sitting there
Nope.
going, and when he did that, he's like, "Oh, I can see the look on his face. He had this, oh shit, what have I gotten myself into now?" So I was like, okay.
Well, he wasn't able to switch strategies at that point in time because because Toshinoshin had managed to move him to the edge of the doyo. And
Right.
he'd managed to position himself relatively well. If he hadn't, then Toshinoshin would have taken the loss against Hakuo.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean,
True.
everything just fell into place. It has fallen into place for Tochinoshin this Basho until Shodai. That's a whole. I was disappointed in that match but Shodai was smart. He was able to keep Tochinoshin off the belt because he was moving backwards.
And also
after the Tachi, he's moving back.
And also, because of the fact that Shodai is primarily a wrestler that does not use belt techniques, he is a guy that primarily prefers to use sumo that pushes the opponent away from the ring.
Thruster, right?
Yeah.
And Tochinoshin always seems to have trouble with them.
Well, he had been able to figure out a strategy of moving in relatively close on them, but he managed to botch the Tachi in this particular instance against Shodai. Shodai countered it, and he forced him off the doyo.
Yeah. And in the process, possibly breaking his wrist. That being Tochinoshin's wrist, because his hand was heavily wrapped yesterday. So, which was a little bit disappointing. However, there's one Yokozuna that I'm still upset with, and his name is Kakuryu for what he did to Endo.
He's always pissed off at what Kakuryu did to Endo.
Hey, that was his first night back after going out with a biceps injury, a possible ruptured bicep, and everybody done the where I watched, we were all saying the same thing. He should just stay Kyujo and gone and got it fixed. But here again, the machoism, I guess you could say.
Well, in this case, here's the thing. Endo had a serious injury in 2013 to his knee. The guy understandably is in a situation where he wants to continue to stay in the top division. And I think at this point, he's just trying to minimize him going down the ranks at this point because there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be jumping up to the top end of the Megashira ranks in this Basho because there have been a lot of guys in the lower ranks that have winning records where a lot of the guys in the upper ranks have
losing
records.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Endo's going to be dropped from Komusubi.
Oh, he certainly is. He certainly is going to be dropped.
He'll probably be dropped down to like Megashira 4 or 5.
I would probably say at this point, depending on how things go, he'll probably be dropped to Megashira 5.
Which in a way, sad. Yeah, because...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Senju, go ahead.
Oh, okay. It's mostly because I think he... how am I supposed to say it lightly? Because he's been winless since returning to the ring on Monday. But I don't want to say that it's because he missed. It's because he missed 2 days with an injury that he's going to that process. That he's just pacing himself with the injury as well as the whole thing. I'm not going to say that that's not a legitimate, not a legit way of just pacing yourself and taking care of your body because you know that you're injured. But yeah, I think in a sense, what he's doing, which is protecting his body, might well affect his placing. And when you do badly, even though you don't want to, but you have to because you're protecting your body, well, it's going to cost you a little bit.
Well, he don't have the strength right now in his right arm. That's the problem. He cannot. he's trying his damnedest, and I got to give him an A for effort. But Endo is he's hurting himself more than he's helping himself, I think.
I think at the same time, though, he might actually manage to pull off a win against a guy who has a losing record at this point. Because right now, what is it, day 14? So he might be able to pull off.
Oh, they got tonight's the last night.
Yeah, I know today's the last night, but at the same time, so it's the last day of the tournament, and basically, so who's in the lead right now?
Kakuryu at 13-1.
Okay.
Followed behind by
Tochinoshin
at 12-2, and third is Hakuho at 11-3.
11-3.
And tonight is a big night because Tochinoshin faces Ikkyoi, and he has Tochinoshin has a winning record against Ikkyoi. I think he's 9-6 against him, if I'm not mistaken. But Hakuho and Kakuryu face off tonight. And everybody is saying, what's the motivation for Hakuho to win? I say his motivation, he's pissed off that he lost to Ichinojo.
He lost to Ichinojo.
He lost to Ichinojo last night.
Yeah, he did.
He lost to both Sekiwakis in this tournament and a Megashira 4 in Abi.
A surprising loss, I think. If that's good.
Because both those Zekis are out.
Yeah. Okay. Koeido's out of the tournament.
He withdrew after day 5, I think.
I think it was day 5 because I think it was an injury that caused him to
some kind of injury to his leg. I think some leg, or I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was leg because I think. And to those of you who might not be in the know, if you have a hand injury or an arm injury, that wouldn't be a huge problem. But with the leg, it's going to be a huge problem because you're definitely relying on your lower body balance to push people away. If your tactic is to go and use your low gravity as an advantage and push people out. That's why you rely really, really hard on your leg.
And Koeido is in a position where he can withdraw day 5, so there's no problem really there.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it won't hurt him. He ain't gonna fall. The only thing I'm worried about when it comes to Endo is that doesn't Kasina Sato have some kind of injury that's similar?
It's a different injury in this particular instance.
And he wrestled too long on it. And that's what's caused him to miss the last 6 or 7 Bashos in a row. He basically lost the whole year last year. And now there's rumors swirling in the chat that on where I watch, on the stream I watched, that he's going to possibly announce his retirement Tuesday.
Oh, interesting.
We'll need to see if it actually happens. Like I said, I actually guess kind of surprised that you just said. I was like, oh my goodness, am I watching professional wrestling again? Because for those of you who are for those of you who are like regulars to Shooting the Breeze or regulars in pro wrestling, one of the main things that people do is they oftentimes tend to focus on rumors. And normally in sumo, there really isn't a lot of rumors. Sure, there's a lot of, because it's not rumors; it's actually actual truth,
actual news, basically.
Right, it's not actual news. But like I said, that's been printed. That's come out of the Sumo Association rumor mill, not so much out of just the general population. That they're trying to find out one way or the other because they want to move forward.
Of course, yeah.
He's been down so long. Because there was talk that if Goyo had another good Basho this time around, he was going to possibly be promoted up to Yokozuna. They don't want 4. It's bad enough they got 3. But then Goyo shot himself in the foot.
Goeido wasn't really in position for a Yokozuna promotion at this point. He needed to win at least 2 tournaments because his win record isn't really supportive of the of potentially of him moving up to Yokozuna at this point. But
basically his win record is abysmal on that one.
So you have a situation. Okay, for Sakensina Sato, the guy had been consistent for about 11, 12 years of his. He's been consistent since he got into the Mega Shira ranks, up into the top division ranks.
Quite consistent. Agree.
Yeah.
He did have that injury, but I think regardless of if he had surgery or not, I think it would have been the same result. The guy would have struggled on the doyo for the next year or so, and would have been possibly a retirement within like 2 or 3 years. I like Asuna Sato, but I feel as though it isn't just his arm that's an issue for him. He also has had an issue with his thigh. He's had an issue with his foot. I think that they had started figuring out his game, and also because of the common factor about Kanesuna Sato in this situation is that he's a bit of a choke artist, to be honest. He's a guy that the last week of a Basho, and you're facing Kanesuna Sato, you're going, oh, this is golden. I might actually be able to get a win in this particular situation, because even if Kanesuna Sato is leading, he, much like Goedo, has a tendency to shoot himself in the foot, metaphorically speaking, and somehow manage to lose his last 3 matches.
Yeah. So I've heard. I've never seen him. So I don't know. I don't have any opinions on him.
There's a large amount of archives of past Bashos and past tournaments where Kanesuna Sato has competed, I believe, all the way to like March of 2011.
Okay. And right now we got 2 Mongolians. As Yokozuna, Kanesuna Sato was the only Japanese national.
Oh yeah.
So it's a big deal right now.
It is. I mean, but it is both a big deal and both not a big deal, because to some purists and to some traditionalists, yeah, it is going to be a big deal, because there's not going to be a Japanese representative who's going to feature as a Yokozuna. Not much, anyways, because the Mongolians. Yeah, because the Mongolians are closing in fast. But on the other hand, it's also going to be a remarkable thing for some of the more, how to say, progressive Japanese folks who watch sumo wrestling. It's a record. It's going to be a first. It's going to be a first that several Mongolians are making Yokozuna with no Japanese representative, and it's going to be fun. At least they're popular, and at least in their eyes, these guys are popular. These guys have shown that they are. What was the correct word for it? They are more than competent, more than capable, and more than deserving of their spot. There you go.
Right.
So there's like I said, there's both the. It's not going to be a surprise, and it's going to be a surprise. It's going to be the talk of the town, unanimously, of course.
The big question is this: coming out of this Basho, because this has been, the last, in January, Tochinoshin went 14-1 and won it. Took the championship.
Yep.
In March, he went 10-5. Now he's at what? 12-2.
12-2. Yep.
So that's 36 wins over 3 tournaments. That all they were talking about this entire tournament was him and this Ozeki run. And there are people stating that the Sumo Association is going to screw him out of it because it wasn't 33 wins as a Sunkyo, in the upper tier.
I don't think they're going to screw him. I don't think they're going to screw him out of it in the slightest. I think he's going to be promoted to Ozeki. He achieved the 10-win ratio. He achieved the 10-win ratio that was required of an Ozeki run. He will certainly be promoted to Ozeki, especially since here's the situation right now in the Ozeki ranks. The Ozeki has been, for quite frankly, a while now, relatively inconsistent. Goedo, we talked about him earlier. Guy is the literal definition of inconsistency in the sumo world. One week he looks like he's on fire, and the next week he's basically being pushed off the dojo into the third row and squashing some harmless old lady.
Shirataru, you're clear for takeoff. Because he's another
Clear.
one.
You can fly now.
He's another one that winds up 2-3 rolls into the seat sometimes.
You can fry now to the seats, to the cushions.
Although none of them get as many frequent flyer miles as Koto Yuki.
Oh yeah.
Well,
he goes into the 5th, 6th rows whenever he flies.
Well, I can't blame him because his body type is quite possibly the lightest frame, if not one of the lightest frames there. So he's easily
he's basically a giant giant ball of Play-Doh.
But you can't.
And Chito Tayu also has those Elvis sideburns going on too.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Those are traditional 1970s sideburns.
Yeah, and everybody in the threads or on the streamer calls him Elvis is in the building when he comes. Everybody calls him Elvis.
Thank you.
We all have nicknames for these people, and it's funny at times.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Ichinojo, Snorlax.
Now, really, a sick thought is popping into my mind. What if Elvis actually is a sumo wrestler?
Oh, please, no. God, no.
Arigato gozaimasu. Fuck you.
Oh, jeez.
Senju, I don't think Taker wants to be murdered by country music fans at this point.
No.
Not in his neck of the woods.
No, I guess not.
But,
okay.
No, but like I said, I believe it's a lock that Tochinoshi's getting the Ozeki. I've gone back and looked. It's been about 18 months now since he's had the surgery on his knee and came back.
Mm-hmm.
After being out, almost a year?
Mm-hmm.
Almost a year.
And he has been consistently strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he has had his moments where he's had a losing record, but they've been so rare since he came back.
Mm.
And he dominated in January.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that nobody saw coming.
Mm-hmm.
Omega Shira 3 winning a tournament. His only loss was to Kakuryu because Hakuho withdrew because his feet.
His feet can't carry him no more.
Well, I mean, the funny story is that throughout the entirety of last year, I felt as though that a Mega Shira wrestler was going to win one of these tournaments because of the inconsistencies of both the Yokozuna and the Ozeki ranks, as well as the rest of the Sanyaku ranks being sometimes good. I thought it was either going to be a Sanyaku wrestler or, and by that I mean Komosubi, Sekiwaki, and a ranked wrestler, or Mega Shira winning a tournament at one of these points, because I felt as though that was at the right amount of time. And Tochinoshin got really lucky because half the field basically ended up injured and he ended up winning the tournament.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what started. Initially, there was talk at the very beginning of January when he got on his run, when he started winning early, winning all the matches. I think he won like 6 or 7 in a row. I can't remember exactly how many.
Mm-hmm.
That he was going to be a lock for Komosubi.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, he turns around and wins the tournament, and he jumps over Komosubi rank up to Sekewaki.
Mm-hmm.
That was a last-minute change by the association because of his dominance. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, yes, it was against lesser wrestlers, but still, in all, he had defeated both Sekewaki and both Komosubis in that run.
Also, he has been in the Sanyaku ranks before, so it wasn't like it was a situation where they would be hesitant about putting him in there. No, this is a guy who was in the Sanyaku ranks before he got injured.
Right, he was a Sekewaki when he got injured.
Yeah, so basically, they're basically putting him back into at that point his original position before he got injured.
Right.
And then we have, of course, Takayatsu, who pulled out of this tournament at the start. So basically, at this point, they want to bring in a third Ozeki into the ranks, and usually there are 3 Ozekis in a Anabansuke in most occasions. So they're back now to the natural positions of having 3 Ozekis. They're going to have new Komosubis, and likely have 1 new Sekiwaki wrestler to replace Toshinoshin.
Right.
Basically, you'd have basically, in a sense, you have a lot of shakeups on the Megashira divisions as well as the Sekiwaki divisions. One of the major shakeups, I think.
Well, tonight's a big night for someone, a new guy down in Jurio too. I've been keeping an eye on. He's got a mile-long name. His name is Wakataka Kage.
Oh, that one.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like that guy actually had a good tournament last time, so he.
Yeah, he got moved up from Makushita to Jurio. Now the story behind that is he's the youngest of three brothers. His two brothers right now, they're all in the same stable. His two brothers are his attendants at the stable house. And it's interesting to watch because there for a while it looked like he wasn't going to make Kachikochi. He's right on the bottom. He's Jurio 14, I think, East. I think.
Oh shit.
And he is at 7-7 right now. So tonight he has to get he can get his Kachikoshi and remain in Jurio for another couple of months.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Which is good for him. He might even move up a little bit.
Just a few ranks, but not much as in to have a promotion from one rank to another. He's doing good, so it's fair to say that if he gets promoted, it'll be a little bit too early. But if he doesn't get promoted, then it's fine. If he jumps,
his sumo is good. His sumo is good. I mean, he's smaller. He could pull a Henka and get away with it.
Of course, yeah.
Because of his size.
Okay.
But he don't. He gets in there and he fights.
He does. Okay.
That, Henka. Ugh, that's a dirty word.
Henka. Hanka Henetsu.
That basically means to change.
Yeah. It's weird. Hanka Henetsu.
Well, Tachiai is collide and stand or something like that, or something like that. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah. You are not.
There's a guy on YouTube that gives classes on he talks about the language of sumo, which helps.
It helps. Yeah. Not a bad thing to do.
Well, there's still Wakataka Moto. That's one of the brothers. I think that's the middle brother.
That's one of the most mouthiest names I've ever heard.
That's his name, Wakataka Moto.
What's his other brother's name?
I do not know. I know it's Wakataka something or other. There's three of them.
Probably Wakataka Sushi.
The only one that's making any money right now is the youngest.
Wakataka Kake.
Yeah, because he just crossed over to Jurio and he's making about $9,000 US a month.
Which is a lot in Japanese terms. So yeah.
But now he's got to basically pay for everything. The stable's not taking care of his expenses anymore.
Nope. Which is sad anyway. So, but in any case, I mean, okay. Like I said 2 episodes earlier, Taker. I think last episode, when we told that Tochinoshin had a surprise loss, he'll be fine. And this is proof that he'll be fine. He'll definitely be fine. He's on course.
Yes,
he's definitely on course to getting the promotion. So, barring any surprise choke ups from him, which I don't think will happen. Hopefully, so. Seeing all the highlights and seeing all the news, I don't think he's against the. I don't think the whole situation is against him. It's for him now.
Yeah. like I said, we need him. We need him to win against Ikkioi, who's had a terrible tournament this time. He's gonna be dropped. He's gonna drop down.
What was it again? Fizz?
Ikkioi is Makikoshi already. He was Makikoshi 2 days ago.
Okay,
he's been off. He's been off this time, which is sad.
And what were you gonna say? What were you gonna say, Fizz?
Well, Ikkioi, he's had an okay Basho. Here's the thing. Even though he's had a Makikoshi record, which basically, what is he at? 5-8 at this point?
5-8, yeah, correct.
5-9.
Okay,
Oh,
5. Okay, 5-9. That's actually not a bad record for this tournament because a lot of people have had either they've had a high amount of winning record or they've had a losing record. In this basho, there really has been none of the in between stuff that usually happens in most bashos in this particular instance.
No, there's only 3 right now or no, 4. There's 4 in double digits. The rest are just barely Kachikoshi or Makikoshi. There's no in between really.
There's no in between because I think in this year the Natsu Basho is fairly level. I'm not discounting. I'm discounting the fact that we have several injuries as well. Several people who are pulling out due to injuries. But I think it's with that being said, it made it made the whole tourney a more level playing field for most of the ranks. So there's that.
You know, and like I said, one of the biggest upsets earlier, you know, I think it was in the first week was Abi.
Oh yeah.
Abi defeating Hakuho.
Yeah,
Abi defeating Hakuho and had forgotten that his mother's birthday was the day before when he lost to Kakuryu, and basically cut the interview short with NHK so he can go call his mom. He even said, I have to go call my mom. I have to cut this short, please. I'm sorry, thank you. And walked. But that's a kid that, you know, he's always happy. He's always smiling. He's always happy. You know, you can see he's still young because he goes back every time he wins. He goes to the back, fist bump with one of his with the attendant that walks with him. It's great to see. He has emotion, and he wears it on his shoulder.
Well, I think a lot of them do have emotion. I mean, like even a guy who you would think is like asleep half the time, Ichinojo, he's got emotion. Whenever he wins a bout, he's got this excitable look on his face. He's like, "Oh, hey, I won!"
Yeah.
Now getting back to sleep.
Did you see the side? I don't know if you've seen the highlights yet.
For what day?
For yesterday, for day 14.
Who did Ichinojo face? He faced Hakuho?
He faced Hakuho and Yori carried him.
Oh, yeah, because like I remember the last basho he had with Hakuho, and I don't know, he almost won against Hakuho, I think that time.
Yeah, he almost won. But the thing that was nice, the thing that was the 32 envelopes is what Ichinojo picked up last night.
32 gigantic envelopes. Because, folks, if you've seen a sumo tournament, you'll see people walking around the ring pre-bench with a bunch of banners. Those are sponsorship banners. Each sponsor basically puts in a till for a particular match. They'll put in a donation of money for that particular batch. The money
it averages about, I think it's $300 to $400 US per envelope. And I think the breakdown is half goes to the wrestler right away. 5% goes to the association for fees, and 45% goes into that wrestler's retirement fund.
Yep. And so now Ichinojo has 32 letters. For those of you who have done mathematics, and since this is free to $400 USD, that's a lot of money.
Pretty much.
Not to mention the sponsor bonuses he gets outside of the banners and his base salary of, I think it's like $22,000 a month. US.
Yeah, which has probably gone up because of the fact that he is now in the Sanyaku ranks. He's now a Sekiwaki, so he's probably at 22 to 25
per month.
And around that.
That's a lot of money.
That is quite a lot to make, which is good. Again, it's always good for the I'm going to put this on a light term for the probably one of the tourney's favorites to get something like that. So
you know, and he's had a solid basho. It's when one of those weird things when when we talk about sumo and Wacky World of Wrestling, one of the guys that we often would go at would be Ichinojo. And it's like, and he was like Mr. Inconsistency for the longest time. And then for some weird reason, he basically started adapting Yokozuna style, center ring, lean on them, sumo, and suddenly he has started winning.
Well, he's 500 pounds, guys. He's
400. He's around 450.
But yeah, you can say
he's up to 225 kilos now.
Yeah, so basically, yeah,
he's close to 500.
Yeah, I was about to say you can ballpark him at about close to 500. I think by now.
He is the biggest. He is the biggest, heaviest wrestler in sumo right now
that they have at the moment currently.
Even people that are from Mongolia said they've never seen a Mongolian that big.
That Mongolian so big.
Yep. And we crack jokes about him drinking all the power water and eating the bucket and eating all the salt. And then after a match, he runs out the concessions and cleans them out too. We always do. It's funny.
Oh, you guys are terrible. You guys are terrible.
It's just jokes.
I know
we all get a good laugh out of it.
You guys are terrible. But hey.
So,
and for us, sumo wrestling is a very relaxing sport. Because the three of us here are professional wrestling fans. Senju doesn't watch, obviously, as much as Taker does, but he does hear it on the news because, again, he watches NHK.
Yeah.
He'll catch the replay. He'll catch the highlights.
So
NHK even runs the highlights. So it's not like I'm going to miss anything. They're going to report the news. They're going to really tell the news because, well, this is a national sport for us, for the Japanese folks, by the way. So
yeah, it's above baseball.
Surprisingly above baseball, which is
not by much because from what I'm gathering and what has been said, because I watch NHK World on occasion, and I catch bits and pieces of documentaries where with Japanese kids today, sumo is not as popular as it was once.
No.
Parents are not letting kids play at it in the parks like they used to anymore.
Well, I think in that case, in order for you to actually play or practice it, you need to have some bits of knowledge, I think, about the sport. So that's why if they really wanted to do sumo, they have to go to the sumo school. Any stables sumo schools for that matter. And because and number two is that sumo isn't really a curricular activity in Japanese school. In the Japanese curricular activities,
no,
there's no club that is a sumo club or something like that. Sure, there are some schools who implement the whole. Okay, we have a sumo club, but usually those sumo clubs are the one who directly funnels any of the sumo members in the club to the popular stables that you have. So yeah,
to the colleges or to heias. So for those of you that are listening and don't know what a heia is, that's a stable. You see, Fizz, I'm learning a lot. I'm getting reacquainted with it. Yeah, and LL's yelling at the dog.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but okay. Like I said, there's no. I think there's no surprise. Hopefully, there will be no surprises as to Toshinoshin reaching his rank, finally fulfilling the rank that he needed. Because one thing I have to remind Taker is that no matter how much people are going to say that he doesn't, it's not right. He can't go move to Ozeki. He deserves it. He already made the whole he already fulfilled the requirements. So why are you stopping him from going up?
Well, the thing is that Taker is apparently dealing with what is the pro sumo equivalent of the pro wrestling conspiracy theorists. The kind of people that will wear tinfoil colander hats and say that the Vince is nigh.
Right. I mean, there are some that saying Well, he doesn't have the 33 wins in Sanyaku.
Oh, he would get along. He would get along so well. They would get along so well with the pro wrestling fans.
Oh yes.
Like.
I have found out most of them are.
Oh, okay. That explains.
Glad.
That
Yay.
explains the insanity.
Because there was someone that actually asked this in the chat room, not last night, but the night before. They asked me, "Are you sitting down, Fizz?
Yeah.
Are you in your basement, or are you in a safe place?"
I'm sitting right here on my desk.
Okay.
Safe place.
Someone actually asked this question: did the WWE wrestler Rikishi actually do sumo? I swear to God, I swear on the lives of all my grandkids, that question was asked.
No, Rikishi is not an actual sumo wrestler, although he probably did do wrestling in high school.
And I said, no, Rikishi did not. I said he had that name because that's what the wrestlers are called. I said he is from the famous Anawa'i family, the first family of professional wrestling here in the United States.
And they could be sumo wrestlers if they wanted to.
Yeah, Rodney could have.
Rikishi thought he was a sumo wrestler.
They asked, did Rikishi actually do sumo? No. Yokozuna, Rodney Anawa'i could have done sumo. He was big enough.
Just because he has the name Rikishi doesn't necessarily mean he's a sumo wrestler.
No.
Just the same as Yokozuna, even though Yokozuna could still technically kind of sort of do sumo, just because his name is Yokozuna doesn't necessarily.
Even the thing is that they did have to learn the techniques of sumo wrestling. The thing is with the thing that's often how do I say this? With the two wrestlers in this particular instance, the reason why Rikishi, who was also known as Fatu, took the name Rikishi was because of the fact that he was A, being repackaged for a new gimmick, and B, he wanted to use the gimmick as a tribute to Yokozuna, who had passed away in like 99, 2000.
Exactly.
And he felt that this would be a very appropriate way to do that. And, and the name Rikishi, for those of you who aren't aware, it basically just means a wrestler. He is just a wrestler.
Yes.
That's all it means. It's got no spirit, no big, anything with it. It just means wrestler, period.
Yeah. So essentially, his gimmick is that he is wrestler.
But again, Taker, seriously, if I was there, I'd laugh first before telling him, no.
Believe it or not, I did when I saw the question. Then I answered the poor fellow, and I told him, no. And I explained who he was, and he's like, oh, okay, that's almost as bad as the question that was asked of me last night in another video.
Sure, okay.
And Fizz, you're gonna get a real kick out of this. Do sumo wrestlers have merch?
Yes, actually, they do.
I don't know where to find it. I have not found it anywhere on the internet.
It's in the gift shop. If you look at the Sumopedia videos on YouTube, they actually showcase that they do sell merch. They sell handprints, or they actually the handprints they do for free. But they also do sumo-related art and merchandise in the gift shop. It's like basically if you go to a national art or historical museum, there's always going to be merchandise of a particular individual in there. And
basically, you have prints, basically.
Yeah, you have prints, you have coffee mugs, you have sumo-inspired memorabilia, you have porcelain dolls, you have all of...
What I was thinking he was asking, because he said something about shirts.
Oh, they sell shirts. They sell shirts too. And more specifically, they sell kimonos.
Yeah, that's what they want. Not so much T-shirt business.
And and some kimonos will have the names of a sumo wrestler printed on them if they're a high enough rank.
I can only imagine what those run.
Probably pretty expensive. And
I wonder if there's any. I wonder if anybody has ever bought Gyoji attire just because they like a particular one.
That depends on the people. I think that's the sensible answer, because like I said earlier, there isn't any like I said to you earlier, there's no conventional merchandise for them, because some of the merch that they sell to the fans or just general public would sound a little bit off and would sound a little bit as if you're in a gift shop or something. You're just buying something that is related to them as a gift shop, or buying sumo merchandise in general. But for a particular person, like you understand, like you want to draw a correlation against a wrestler, an individual wrestler having individual merchandise against a sumo wrestler having an individual merchandise, probably the handprints are the closest ones. Probably those handprints are the closest ones. Or if you have a photo of them and you wanted to ask for a signature, they'll do it pretty much.
Yeah, like I said, from what I can see of the way they are, when they do their interviews, soft spoken, very humble. They seem to be people that would be very, very accommodating, regardless of where they are. If you see them on a public street and ask, I'm pretty sure they would do that, because they just seem like, they do this because the people enjoy it. That's what it seems like to me. I don't know. I may be wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think your first impressions there is mostly accurate. I mean, it's basically like every other sports industry in Japan. Basically, professional sumo wrestlers, and also to an extent professional wrestlers, are members of that particular community. Okay, I'm from Kyoto, or I'm from Osaka, or I'm a person who is contributing to the community in this way. Like I'm a public spokesperson person, for the community as well. I'm this person who is a sumo wrestler from this stable. I've done relatively well. Or the same thing can be also said of professional wrestlers.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, if you support the business, basically you can just support them by buying merchandise or something like that. But I think that is
that's one of the major differences between Japan and the United States, is that the wrestlers in particular you can see always on their social media posts that they're always very, very kind about the support that they get from their fan bases, and that that they're supporting their communities. It is a communal effort.
Yeah, it is nice, because I just took a shot in the dark. What was it, day before yesterday? Yeah, on Twitter, and I typed in Tochinoshin's name. Sure enough, he's got a Twitter page.
Oh yeah, most of them do. Most of them have got social media pages.
I've been watching. He during the Basho, he's not tweeting much. He don't say anything.
Oh no,
he goes dark. I think all of them go dark. But leading up to it, you can see he was, he'd gone. He's been home. He's done things. You can see him walking around, see him taking pictures with fans and posting them. And it's you don't see that. It could be anywhere, a bar, out on the street, at a restaurant eating dinner. They don't.
I mean, like, for instance,
they're not so much like, I'm sure they have their share of stalkers like professional wrestlers do here in the States. I'm sure they do. But I don't know how they handle it, because you never see an angry word put out on social media by any of them.
No.
About fans.
Because I think it's more because they're in a stable, and usually the stable usually takes care of the sumo wrestlers as a whole. But they're not how to say, they're not denied the right to or actually they are not disallowed to post anything up on Twitter, because they can totally do that. They can totally do that if they want to. If they chose not to, then they chose not to.
like the thing is that a lot of, especially if you start looking at Japanese and going over into the pro wrestling side of things, it's very much the same thing. They're posting pictures of going to sponsor dinners,
Yes.
or mentioning that, okay, here's my latest T-shirt or my latest DVD. It's available now at this particular storefront. It's a communal effort.
And it's mostly a marketing tool for them to just promote themselves and the rest of the people, rather than just a tool for them to post about their lives, post about what's going on in the business or something like that. So
And
Right.
they do sort of a documentary style on Twitter. I've noticed that, but they are considerably they're very honest. They're very honest. It's not like a situation where they're trying to like work somebody or something.
yeah,
It's
No,
that's
you
true.
don't. You don't see that.
mhm,
Mhm.
You don't see them talking bad about a fellow Rikishi. You don't
Mhm.
see it.
and same can be said for pro wrestlers in Japan. If they're doing a feud with somebody, it's based on some past incident that actually happened earlier in their careers, for the most part.
Hmm.
It's treated as a sport, even
Mhm.
though in the pro wrestling circles it's a work, where in sumo it's legitimate.
Yes, that's true.
Mhm.
The surprising bit is that if you want to draw parallels to sumo wrestling and wrestling in Japan, uh, even wrestling is treated as a athletic sport here to a
Mhm.
degree. Not much, but to a degree, anyways. Because yeah, you'd still see people. You still have the regular NJPW stuff, like they did. For example, they did a shoot. They did a video documentary about how Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi are doing workouts together and whatnot, and they're doing that. They're documenting that as well. Or they can also just do some simple documentary about their lives and how they do their daily business on a daily basis when no wrestling is involved, and just portrays them as just another regular sporting celebrity in
Mhm.
Japan. That's why I think that's the reason why some people like Antonio Inoki can go up until and to get political status, in a sense, because
Mhm.
they're being treated not as not
Entertainers.
not entertainers, but sports personalities. So
Mhm.
And that's the problem with the product today here in the United States.
mm,
It's low. It's very low on sport and high on entertainment.
Well, I think when are we talking about national level or are we talking about independence?
mm.
National level. WWE, the bigger ones. WWE, ROH.
Do we want to Do we want to draw parallels against the, how to say, athletic wrestling, basically in your collegiate or Olympic athletic commission, as to draw parallels to wrestling promotions, like big wrestling promotions?
No,
Do
no,
we?
no, 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 no. No,
Okay.
I'm looking at what you're saying over in Japan with like NJPW, All Japan,
Okay, okay.
even the women for that matter. They're treated more as sports figures than they are
Mhm.
entertainers. Whereas in the
Mhm.
United States, the sports side of it is secondary to the entertainment.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's in the major in the major promotion of WWE.
Mhm.
At least that's how I'm seeing it, or how I'm understanding it.
I feel like that it's actually been turning in a different direction. I think it's become more of a sport and less entertainment based in the last several years than it has in the past. It always really just depends on the creative team behind that and also the wrestlers involved. The roster in WWE, for example, is the most athletically gifted of any of the rosters that they've had, not since the Ruthless Aggression era back in the early 2000s.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I think the thing is, in this situation, I feel that it's the exact opposite problem. I feel that it's less entertainment and more sport. They're trying to get more serious about being seen as a sport, which I can see as the influence of them trying to take on UFC in this
Yeah.
particular instance. And that's the reason why they've been moving to more of an entertainment background over the 2000s was because UFC began infringing on their turf, and UFC's legitimate, and they unfortunately are not. From their perspective, like, oh, we're not the legitimate sport. They are, and they had to compensate for that, and in that situation, and
I think they overcompensated, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, again, you're dealing with professional wrestlers, Taker. It's either going to be the highest of highs or the lowest of lows. There is no in between.
Unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Nice segue into WWE wrestling from out of sumo too. So, shall we talk about the show that was meh? It being Raw.
It is Raw.
Raw, in my opinion,
was Raw.
Was terrible from top to bottom. The minute Stephanie's music hit, I wanted to turn it off because I knew the show was going to be utter bullshit.
And also the sounds of every single mice fleeing your house.
Yeah, all the mice flee my house screaming when they hear Stephanie's voice.
How the? So everyone is saying. So everyone, probably everyone has the same reasoning, being that okay, Stephanie McMahon really is grading, really is Woodward. Because I think on my side, or anyways, on my side, because I do believe that the whole presence of Stephanie McMahon actually made not everything. I'm not gonna say not everything on Raw is better in the presence of Stephanie McMahon. It just makes whatever spot that Stephanie McMahon has slotted herself into, it made that segment or that promo or that backstage interview a little bit better. Because criticize her how you will, but in my side anyways, criticize her how you will. But to me, I think there's little to deny that she elevated every segment of television she was involved.
What? Who says this? Because I sure.
I'm saying this. I'm saying this.
Are you out of your mind?
Okay. Opening promo involving Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, and Kurt Angle. If it was only the three of them, okay, hear me out. If it was only the three of them, would you actually take care of, give a damn about all three of them? No.
Roman, correct. I don't know. Roman Reigns right now, I don't know what the hell they're doing with him.
Yeah. But
Kevin Owens is still a whiny ass about his shit with Shane, and that he finds a way, whether he's got Stephanie there or not, to bring that up. And Shane was, had a vendetta against him, this and that. And then who was the third person involved?
Kurt Angle, in the promo anyway. So
Kurt can handle his own.
But
Kurt right now, I believe, makes Raw better when he's allowed to do, his quote unquote job as general manager.
Okay. But okay.
Great. So, but like I said, you're saying, Fizz, are you hearing this? He's saying that every segment that Stephanie was on was actually better. And I'm sitting there going, how?
Well, you said something about going insane, and I was like going, okay.
I asked MDS if he was out of his mind.
Or basically being me at that particular instance.
Who said? I never said you were out of your mind.
I know you never said I was. You never said that I was out of my mind. It's just basically I'm just basically self-deprecating at this point.
Okay.
But this is basically me playing Fizz. But hear me out. Complain about her voice, which everyone wouldn't probably agree on it, which may or may not resemble a cat in distress. Or the seriously,
It sounds like a giant kaiju screaming at the top of its lungs.
Okay, I'll say that it's a Godzilla, not the Godzilla on 1992 or 1991, but the Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Okay. Or the way that she slots herself in, which makes her the focus, not her co-stars. Truth of the matter is, because she gets to be that focus because she delivers it in quality. You can't she's like her father in it. She's actually playing her father in a sense, because every time Vince McMahon comes out, your focus is instantly snapped onto Vince rather than anybody else in the ring, regardless of who they are, because Vince is the top guy. Vince is the boss. Vince is the top guy in WWE. He is the man in WWE. The one who led WWE to okay. I'm just saying that in terms of that, because we can criticize on the fact that like I said earlier on, Stephanie McMahon came into say Ronda Rousey, the whole Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax contract signing. The focus was solely on Stephanie McMahon because the $1 billion princess constantly manipulated the whole situation. She's always interjecting, always coming in with excuses, something like that.
Well, I think part of that was also kind of the fear of, I just regrew this arm, I kind of don't want it ripped off again by Ronda. Yes, well as also trying to make the current champion Nia Jax destroy Ronda Rousey for her because she wasn't able to during the intergender match at WrestleMania.
That's true.
That's the story that they're basically telling in this situation, that Stephanie's looking for revenge against Ronda, and she's going to try and send a variety of individuals against her in that particular instance. She already has been doing that in the background in the story for the last month or so with the various different wrestlers going after Ronda Rousey. And now she's got Nia Jax, who she's basically trying to turn into the corporate champion of a la The Rock, and try and manipulate her from that particular instance. But both of them, Jax and Rousey, are at this point, they're both faces.
Yes.
If they do a quick heel turn for Nia or a quick heel turn for Ronda, it's not going to be, well, Ronda's not going to get booed.
Yeah.
So you have a situation where in the two segments that you're talking about, you have Stephanie now back in the background again, plotting to destroy Kurt Angle for his objective failure, as well as plotting to destroy Ronda Rousey for, ripping her arm off.
In a manner of speaking, yeah.
So
I mean, I'm not saying that that's the prime motivation of it, because I don't know whether Stephanie's appearance now is how am I supposed to say? Is either a plot device or just a part of Raw, where she is, technically speaking, she is a part of Raw, but she doesn't really make any a lot of appearances compared to say Kurt Angle as co-general manager in a sense. Because that's the question I have. Is this just a one-off appearance of Stephanie McMahon being a part of a plot, a storyline plot, or is she still a part of Raw? That's the question that I have.
She's still a part of Raw in storyline as the owner of Raw, and Shane is the owner of SmackDown. They're still continuing that story from the start of last year. I know that people have been complaining endlessly about the 40 figure angles, and yes, I have heard you all say that, but in reality is that you have these two TV shows that need a concurrent storyline every week, so you have to deal with the 40 figure angles. Okay, that's just a part of the game at this point. Some promotions do a 40 angles pretty decently. Surprisingly enough, the original Donner Party of Professional Wrestling does a 40 angles okay. That's one of the few things that they're generally good at because they're constantly under invasion. Although, oddly enough, not this time. Ever since the move to Canada.
But they're still paying their fans to come watch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, there's that. In this particular instance, you have, for Raw and SmackDown, you need a baseline story of, okay, you have these two general managers. You now have Paige as the SmackDown general manager, and Kurt Angle is still the Raw general manager. Now you're running into the story of Kurt Angle continuing his run while he's dealing with a Universal Champion that basically has put an IOU on the front of his locker at this point. IOU, I don't know, X amount of matches with this shiny championship. Also, please restock the beef jerky in the vending machine as I devoured it all. And also a replacement vending machine because, well, him and Ichinojo may have gotten into a fight earlier.
Now, that would be a match I would pay big money to see.
Brock Lesnar versus Ichinojo versus a vending machine.
No. Just Brock Lesnar versus Ichinojo. That would be...
The winner gets the vending machine.
Exactly. The prize is the vending machine. That would be a match I would pay top dollar to see because I could see Brock trying to move him and no.
Nope.
Can you imagine Brock trying to punch him? Punch.
Yeah. Could you imagine Brock trying to shoulder tackle him down?
Yeah. I mean, he's ridiculously strong and can rip up trees, and it was probably suplexed Safulu at some point, but, Ichinojo is a whole different kettle of fish. Speaking
of, real quick segue on sumo wrestlers, and I have been wondering this, and I saw something about Hakuho and his Tachiai, the force that he hits with, of 608 kilos at point of impact. Could you imagine 4 Hakuhos on an offensive line in the NFL?
Oh.
The 2 guards,
every single off.
The 2 guards and the 2 tackles being a Hakuho type. As your offensive line, you got a standard center. He ain't gonna have shit to do. Just give the ball to the quarterback and the offensive line, boom, and all of them just fall on their ass. Okay, now what? How devastating would that be?
Quite. I won't say.
Oof.
I mean, if you guys read manga or watch anime, you might remember Eschew 21, where one of the main characters is literally a bench presser of 450 pounds. 450-pound bench presser, and he's built like he is a sumo. He's built like he's a sumo wrestler, and yet he's not. He's the center or the he's the lineman or the center of the team.
Jeez.
And no one can stop him because he bench presses at 450 pounds and just pushes people out of the way.
Oh, that's great. But no, let's get back to the whole Stephanie thing too. Though, what do you got to say about this, Biz?
Huh?
What do you got to say about the Ichinojo, or not Ichinojos, but the Hakuho 4 Hakuhos on an offensive line?
They've tried to, well, actually, my team, the Buffalo Bills, once incorporated a Japanese guy into their offensive line. He didn't do terribly well. The problem is in these situations is that they have to transition their technique from sumo wrestling over into professional football, and pro football is a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah. But if they could be taught, that would be just scary. Open a hole for a running game? Sure, why not? Okay. Brock versus Ichinojo for the vending machine. That would be a match I would want to pay to see. Sure. See Brock try to shoulder block Ichinojo. He just stands there. He just stands there in the middle of the ring, lets Brock run into him, and he goes, "What?"
No, wait. No, not yet. He tries the shoulder tackle, but Ichinojo is sleeping while standing.
Yes. And he just stands there and he looks at him and he's like, "Oh."
And he feels something and then you woke me up, and then just carries him.
Picks him up and picks him up, body slams him, falls on him. 1, 2, 3, done. Where's the vending machine?
Or Brock trying to punch the guy in the gut. Like,
please.
I mean,
wobble.
Yeah, that, and also like, my client, Brock Lesnar, unfortunately has managed to dislocate his shoulder punching a 500-pound sumo wrestler.
My client, Brock Lesnar. Unfortunately, and then with a semi-normal voice, unfortunately has injured his shoulder while trying to punch a 500-pound person, 500-pound sumo wrestler. I don't know what.
That would be scary.
Yeah, with Paul Heyman straight face telling you, now I don't know what to do with you guys anymore.
That would be the gimmick matches of all gimmick matches for sure.
In a
Oh,
way.
yeah.
Okay. That being said, okay, back to the whole back to the whole back to the whole MDS method of madness thing.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that's basically just one of my point of views. Because sure, we complain about her voice. Sure, we complain about how her presence sucked the focus out from out from the co-stars that we were supposed to be watching back to Stephanie McMahon. But
in fairness, once again, she's dealing with, well, let's see here. Rhonda, who I nicknamed Punch because that's what she does. Punch. The world's
dealing with
greatest
Punch.
invisible wrestler, Nia
Yes.
Jax.
Yes, you
Kevin
did say
Owens, who's Kevin Owens. I think
And Roman Reigns, they turned into a whiny little bitch.
Oh,
I don't understand why.
because they moved away from the whole sociopathic psycho thing, who honestly should have turned babyface about a year ago, but for whatever reason, either creative has decided that, oh, he's staying as a heel, or KO doesn't want to move into a face role, which I find baffling at this point because he's a perfect working class face. And then you have someone who's probably got even more of a reaction. Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Roman. Because now we're going to have to talk about you again.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to the Roman Empire.
Happy birthday to you. But anyway.
Yeah.
They've turned Roman of Reigns into a sniveling, whiny ass. And I just don't see. It's not going to work. They put a bullet in his head in the cage match. I'm sorry. That character is dead. Roman Reigns as a character is dead. The fans don't like him. They never will like him.
I don't know whether they never will. I think that's a little bit too harsh, but I think the build-up, they're trying to get interest on Roman Reigns, but every time they do, WWE seems to have a new, fresh idea on how to screw Roman Reigns up the ass.
Well, I think it's a number of factors involving Roman, and as I was about to say, happy birthday, Roman. Oh boy, we're gonna have to deal with the Empire again this week, aren't we? Because Taker's already done a few shots at the Urukai Horde at this point, but well, if you've noticed the avatar today, you've noticed I've been maniacally laughing.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the mood to talk some professional wrestling and more specifically talk about our dearly beloved Roman Reigns, beloved by all.
That's why I'm in my bunker. That's why I'm taking the shots I'm taking. I'm in my bunker in a secret location today.
Not so secret when they know you're in Dubuque, Iowa. And it's not so secret that they know I'm in Kyoto, Japan.
Who are you sure I'm in Dubuque? I could be in Cedar Rapids. I could be in Davenport. I could be in Des Moines today. No one knows where my bunker is.
Oh, okay. Bunker. Fine. Okay. This is the reason why I need bunkers. You guys have bunkers. I only have tatami mats and a hut somewhere in the hot springs of Kyoto.
Well, there's 2 million people in Kyoto, right?
Yes. You can't rely on the power of numbers.
There is safety in numbers.
I need something more than just safety of numbers.
You can put a bowl on your head and get a haircut and fit in just right. Put a suit on, you look like everybody else.
I'm a typical shonen Japanese anime protagonist.
Oh God. Right. And here, right.
Anyway, you were talking about Roman Reigns there, Fizz.
Yeah, yes. You were talking about Fizz.
I mean, somebody who's even more controversial than Stephanie McMahon is. Although Stephanie, I don't really feel as controversial. More so that she is a presence. She cuts promos. Okay. She's a McMahon. Okay, that I can understand. Roman Reigns has had a very interesting year. Well, let's see here. He was supposed to win in WrestleMania. Then he somehow got hit by a voodoo curse, and Brock Lesnar retained.
Yeah.
Then they went to the world's most awkward 10-year arranged marriage between WWE and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and it was expected that Roman was going to win over there. He didn't.
Nope.
And now he went into Backlash, faced off against Samoa Joe, and everybody exited the building because they had to get home because of the match time was like 11:15 p.m. Apparently, they were like 15 minutes late with the pay-per-view.
Yes, somehow. I don't know why.
And they had it was their match. And, you're going to hear a lot of people say, it's been very interesting. I think that at this point, Roman constantly dreads what, I have to wonder if he has his smartphone under some kind of containment unit because he's not sure. It's like, oh God, what are they saying about me this week? Because, and it's not the people that are complaining about him in written posts on wrestling sites all over the place. It's more along the lines of, what has his fandom done this week to have set off management? Because I think the biggest enemy for Roman Reigns right now is the Roman Empire. I appreciate their enthusiasm. I appreciate the fact that they're so devoted to their beloved champion. But I've warned a few of them over the years that the minute that you attract Vince's attention is the equivalent of attracting Sauron from Lord of the Rings. Especially if you also decide to attract Hunter's attention. Because as I think I talked about this a few weeks ago, guys. I'm not sure. Do you remember me talking about my little conspiracy theory?
Vaguely.
Yeah, vaguely.
The one where I believe that the person who's responsible for the de-pushing of Roman Reigns isn't Vince. Vince wants to push Roman. He has wanted to push Roman for 4 years. He is technically right now, even though they don't realize it, he is technically the biggest ally that the Roman Empire has in pushing Roman Reigns to the top of the card, or to make Roman Reigns a heel, or to do this and that and the other thing. The trouble is, Roman is one of the last FCW prospects that they got through the whole thing. He's an Anoa'i, obviously. He's a guy from the Anoa'i wrestling family. The one guy that has always had issues with the Anoa'i wrestling family has not been Vince, because Vince and the Anoa'i family are incredibly loyal to each other. The issue has come from the other person in the room, the person who is the heir apparent, the person who is going to likely be taking over the wrestling operations of WWE. Because right now, folks, we are in the midst of a transitional period for WWE as a wrestling company and as a sports entertainment company, in quotation marks, for legal reasons. Right now, like I've said, over the past several years, I think for 3 years now, Triple H has been in charge of the wrestling operations, and the business and the corporate side has been getting increasingly run by a man named George Barros. George Barros is the guy that did the deal with Fox for SmackDown. And he is the guy that has been doing a lot of the corporate negotiation things alongside with Stephanie and another executive whose name I can't remember at this point.
I think it was Melissa Branch, I think. I don't know.
And those two recently are now in positions where they're running the corporate side of things, where Triple H runs the wrestling side of things, where he has basically become the equivalent of Dan Snyder.
Oh, okay.
I've just compared Triple H to Dan Snyder when it comes to his drafting habits, as well as the fact that he literally throws money at everything. And when I mean everything, I literally mean everything at this point.
Okay, I can see the fair point.
If you look at the influx of indie talent, quality indie talent that's in NXT, it's overly top heavy right now with that. They're not developing their own stars anymore.
They still are trying to, but at the same time, I think they're trying to give their stars extra time and extra polish, and a little bit of that obsessive compulsive disorder is starting to leach into NXT at this point. I'm not sure if it's necessarily Triple H or if it's Matt Bloom or if Regal and Brookside are getting a little obsessive about the wrestling techniques. Which again, I can understand if it's those two, but I'm not really certain about everybody else at that point, because it really does feel to me like the guy that is the most responsible for the Roman Reigns D push is Triple H. He's the guy that wanted Seth Rollins over Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns is a guy that is a natural fit as a heel. I know people have said this constantly about the guy. Natural fit as a heel, decent babyface when he's not having to talk.
True.
And
I can't deny that, but yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm. And they've tried all the variety of different things, and the thing is because Roman is so popular with the minority audience and with technically the majority audience, because the minority audience is the majority audience. The general audience generally likes Roman. They don't necessarily like him as a face right now, but they still give him a reaction.
Okay, yeah.
Even the so-called smart audience likes Roman Reigns. It's just it's been this self-cycling vicious cycle of attrition where these two different fan bases, the Roman Empire and the so-called haters, are literally trying to stab each other to death with pitchforks and torches on a near consistent basis, when they have to realize at this point that they're basically the same side.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar fans became Roman Reigns fans because of the fact that Brock had become increasingly inconsistent in the ring.
True. That's true.
They wanted Brock to lose so that he could go back to the land of UFC, where they have a TV deal now with ESPN and ESPN Plus, which is basically originally ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
When I say originally ESPN, I mean ESPN in the 1980s and maybe early 90s. And you have this situation where it is a vicious cycle of people viciously bashing one another, because you see it all the time on the Bird thing. You see it all the time on Twitter, People who are very defensive of their guy and of their fandom feel the need that I need to raise my shield, and I need to raise my shield and sword against thy random person on the internet that I barely interacted with all this time. Roman Reigns brings people together. Roman Reigns brings together world peace. We're all unified on the same opinion about the guy. Yes, Fizzy's going overboard, kids.
That's fine.
Like I said earlier on, it's not. I don't really mind the whole conspiracy theory, but I think I see a point there, because that's just like how I know it's a little bit controversial for me to say it, but I kind of see that anytime a Stephanie McMahon segment is involved, it just gets focused. It just gets a little bit more attention, just not in the correct way. But okay, fine. Same as your theory about Roman Reigns and whatnot. It's just there is something to be discussed about what is going on with Roman Reigns. Why is he getting this?
The guy that's messing him up is Triple H, because once again, guess who's on the fringes of getting back into the main event again? He spent his 2 years in the doghouse for all of the antics that have made the entirety of the PR department within WWE hate his literal guts. But Hunter, once again, pushing his golden boy from Iowa up the top of the card again. He's got Vinnie McBrogue at the top of the card. He's got Braun Strowman at the top of the card. Those are free guys that he wants pushed. And
Not Roman Reigns.
And guess who's the one who's getting pushed down the card? Or at least in this particular instance, being stuck in a place that's worse than the mid card? Welcome to Purgatory, or the upper card Purgatory.
Roman Reigns.
And all because he's an Anawa'i, which isn't right.
Yeah, because, like, here's the thing. Hunter holds grudges. Vince might hold a grudge, but if it's financially feasible for both sides to make a good amount of money on something, Vince will drop that grudge faster than a speeding bullet, or faster than Brett tapping out to his own finisher in Montreal.
Yeah.
Okay? He will bury the hatchet on things. Hunter lets it fester. He lets it fester that he was bitter about the fact that Rock jumped ahead of him in the top card draw thing in the late 90s and early 2000s during the Attitude Era. Because if you look at...
wasn't Triple H paying for the oh hell, what was it?
The curtain call is
curtain call incident. Yes.
Not really. I mean, the thing is that if you read between the lines, Vince was protecting Hunter because he saw that he couldn't lose any more pieces at this point to Eric Bischoff and WCW. They wanted to get Triple H back under the WCW banner because he had signed a 1-year deal, went over to WWE, and now they're like, okay, let's take away as many pawns as we can against Vince in this situation. And Triple H was a guy that they were interested in bringing back in. Same goes for Undertaker. Same goes for Bret Hart. You know, they were looking at all the pieces. They were looking at acquiring as much a talent by proxy, because the thing is, Eric Bischoff likes to give himself a lot of credit. Eric Bischoff was not the one that was aggressively snagging up as much talent as he could. That was Ted. Ted wanted to destroy Vince. Ted was vetted by Vince, and he decided that, the best way to destroy him was to basically play the sports roster game. Hoard as many players as he could on contracts, and basically force Vince out. Because he couldn't find the star power to keep going.
But how did that work out for him?
It worked out pretty good for a few years there.
Yeah, but I'm saying in the end, how did it work out for him?
Well, the thing is that he released Steve Austin, he released Mankind, he released Taker, Those free pieces, the thing is that Vince used the scraps that were released by WCW.
Well, he picked up Mankind, and he picked up Undertaker right away, Mark Calloway.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Austin, however, came through ECW.
Oh, he was originally going to go through into WWE, but they weren't 100% sure about his injuries, so they had him basically do a rehab stint in ECW, and then
come back,
and then came over to WWE
as the ringmaster, which was a joke.
Well, at least it put Steve Austin on the map for a technical wrestler. But once he got into the injury, the whole thing, while he was in being a ringmaster, then that character Steve Austin comes out slowly and simple.
Yeah, it's this whole thing with what happened and all. I particularly don't care because I about Stephanie being. I don't like Stephanie being on there for the simple reason is that it's very well known you will not get over her.
Of course.
She is the center. She wants to be the center. She will always be the center when she's there. And that's not how it should be. It's because she's not the one putting asses in seats. It's the talent that's bringing the people in. It's the wrestlers. It's the wrestlers we want to see. We don't want to see Stephanie McMahon running off at the mouth and putting down everybody indirectly. That's what I see when Stephanie shows up. She's putting down the talent indirectly because of her wanting to be over everybody. You're not going to get over on me. Is her thing. She's got some complex about, you're not going to outshine me.
It's the social status thing in that situation because, as I've talked about before on the show, The thing is that amongst the rich people, they're still viewed, the McMahons, as carnival folk. They live in one of the richest areas in New England. That would be Stamford, Connecticut. And they're viewed as still as the carnival folk. Vince Sr. had more credibility than the rest of the McMahons do at this point.
Yep.
And they've constantly had to fight against that. And the trouble is that Stephanie's never really gotten proper therapy for her issues. And her therapy is basically in the ring. And she just really doesn't know how to talk to people. You know, and the thing is if you see her in backstage segments, she's fine. You know, she does have the occasional social flubs or social issues, but she's okay. You know, I think that the pressure of having that last name, as well as the person who's basically realizes that, oh shoot, I have to be the one running the company here because Shane really can't do it at this point. You know.
Yeah, talking about Shane. Sorry to interrupt, Fizz, but talking about Shane. Shane is of the same, from the same family. But one difference he has over his sister is that he went out on his own and made his own money.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't he doesn't need WWE. He's made his millions. Okay? So if you look at it, when he's involved in an in-ring segment, he puts the talent over. He doesn't make himself the center. Never has. He did it first when he was younger, but now that he went out and ventured out into the world and made something of himself outside of wrestling, I'll bet you any amount of money he's more accepted in Stamford, Connecticut than anybody. Even though his last name is McMahon, but because he went out and did it on his own.
Well, the thing is that in Shane's case, his situation was a little bit different, because for Shane, he was a guy who could fit in with the culture of the New Englanders. You know, ranging from the working class to the upper class. And you see it even in the segments from the 1990s that he was a part of. This guy knew exactly how to fit in with people, actually have some social skills, which is very weird for a McMahon to actually have.
Yeah, he had what's the word? People skills.
People skills.
He has people skills.
He basically inherited Linda's people skills.
Exactly.
And his case is that he was seen as the heir apparent who decided to jump out, literally, from a moving vehicle and do some things for a few years, and came back. But the thing is that Shane is in this position. I think everybody understands this, that he's not going to be the one that's going to take over things unless something catastrophic happens.
Yeah.
You know.
And for some odd reason, catastrophic things seem to keep happening to him, i.e. helicopter crash.
Yeah.
Oh, well. There's a lot to do. But hey, I mean, it's hard not to disagree on all the points made about Roman Reigns at this point, because, well, basically, yeah, like Taker said, Roman Reigns has been made into whiny little loser since. Just the so-called, I mean, I see things that the big dog himself, or somewhat so-called big dog himself, Ben, now has become really an unrecognizable character. Who is he? He's a face? Is he a heel? Is he a badass? Or is he just a whiny bitch? Is he something? I'm just confused now, because in the process of people in the background, if the theory is proven to be correct, into burying Roman Reigns, in a sense, they're making a mess out of burying him out. You're smudging the whole Roman Reigns character. So
yeah,
it's just odd. I mean,
and if they're not careful,
Mhm.
they'll do the same thing to Ronda.
I think Ronda at this point is safe. I think at this point she's safe, and they're two different people in this particular instance. Ronda Rousey is in the safe path. They're going to be as cautious as they can be in the situations with her. With Roman, you basically have multiple parts of creative wanting to do one thing or another thing or the other thing, as well as Roman himself not really sure where he wants to take things. He seems to be like, have you seen the stuff that he's been talking? Have you seen what the interviews that he's been doing?
Where about being heel or whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, funny thing that was brought up a few weeks back. Legends Lover brought it up in the background.
Mm-hmm.
The absolute easiest way to make Roman a dastardly, despised heel is to send him over to SmackDown and have him jump and beat the holy shit out of Daniel Bryan.
And then the universe implodes.
Yeah.
The universe will implode. He will be heel solidly.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be that. Funny thing, he said that in an interview. You want me to really be a heel? Send me over to SmackDown, turn me loose on Daniel Bryan.
I think we've talked about it. I think he understands it at this point. It's like, okay, well, if you want me to
that would be the perfect way to do it.
What's kind of funny is that to segue into some minor anime talk, Senju, have you seen Pop Team Epic?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you know the one segment where the traditional 15th century Japanese noble person is...
Oh, no, I have seen that, yeah.
Yeah, that segment where he says, "Show yourself, Pop Team Epic." And he could smell the horrible manga, and whatnot.
Yep.
And then here's the thing: the 15th century noble person. Most people would normally associate that with the Daniel Bryan fandom.
No,
Not the case. Not the case anymore. And afterwards, one of the two main characters. What's her name again?
I can't remember.
The short one with the mouth. I think it's Poporo.
Poporo, I think. Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She steps out from the bushes and she's wielding a spiked baseball bat. That's how the segment ends. Basically, that I've replayed that clip and I'm probably going to post that onto the Twitter pages and whatnot to showcase. Currently, right now, we are now engaged in yet another feud because Daniel Bryan came back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the 15th century nobleman people are kind of getting a little bit concerned that their golden emperor is going to be pushed even further down the card. Now, some of them have started talking and saying, "Oh, we want this, or we want this," and I go, "No, you're not. What you actually mean is you still want him. You still want him to be winning. You still want him to be on top at this point." And the Daniel Bryan fandom has returned. They're the ones with the spike. They're the ones with the spike baseball bats, and the Roman Reigns fandom is the obnoxious 15th century noble people.
In a way, yeah, okay.
I guess here's the thing: they constantly say that we're the minority. We're the minority, guys. You're the majority at this point. The Roman Reigns fandom is the John Cena fandom circa 2005, before he started getting nuclear heat from both his own fandom and the general fan base around him.
Yep.
And the thing is right now they're clashing with the Daniel Bryan fans. They're clashing with the Seth Rollins fans, who are extremely peeved off of being, sort of, being dismissed. Their concerns are being dismissed, basically, because, just because of Seth's disastrous World Heavyweight Championship run in 2015, which part of it was his own fault because of the fact that he has as much charisma as a cob of corn, and part of it was creatives issues. It was a combination. It was this maelstrom of all these different issues,
but
as
the question I have is this, Fizz, and I'm interrupting again, and I apologize for that.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Where did Seth Rollins find the charisma he's got now?
Well,
because he's a lot more charismatic than he was back then.
Well, he's actually got some creative assistance from, I think, Finn Balor. I think Balor has been helping him out on the character side of things for the last couple of months. And I think as well, the factor is that Ryan Ward is one of the few NXT writers that can actually get through to him and say, Seth, this is what we want you to do. We don't want you to overreact to these spots, okay? We don't want you to do your, 50,000 pounds of, spots in a single minute, okay? We want you to just do this.
Just basically outline every single thing that he needs to do, and he doesn't.
Yeah. With Seth Rollins, the biggest thing that you have to consider with him is his past injury history, including the concussions. Every time that my mother sees him in ring, she goes, why is this guy in ring? She can take one look at the guy's face and go, oh my goodness, that man has had a lot of concussions, hasn't he? No wonder he constantly screws up.
You look at Daniel Bryan, he's in the same boat.
Daniel's got a bit of a better history than Seth Rollins does at this point.
Daniel Bryan was the one that was having seizures, whereas we don't know for sure if Seth has had them or not.
No, I don't think Seth has had them at this point. It's just you can see it whenever he talks and whenever he looks around. You go, okay, this is a person who's had traumatic head injury in the past. Not saying in WWE, but in Ring of Honor, where the wrestling style back in the 2000s was obsessive and aggressive to the point of disturbing.
Well, same thing with Samoa Joe. You could look at him and tell he's had a few too many.
Well, there's a famous GIF of him during a TNA event where you've seen the GIF where he jumps from the stands and onto the concrete. Onto the concrete steps. He's done those kinds of spots. He's done the slugfest spots in Ring of Honor, the strong style spots, where they're basically he comes from a work to obviously a shoot. Where they get a little too enthusiastic about it. I mean, this is a guy who had a match with Kenta Kobayashi. No, not the small guy who's Hideo Itami. Kenta Kobayashi, the actual 4 Pillars of Heaven guy.
Yep.
Wow.
He had a dream match with him in 2005.
If you're lost about the 4 Pillars of Heaven, these are the 4 men who actually built NJPW. So
I understand.
All Japan.
All Japan, actually, not in JPW. Sorry.
That would be the Three Musketeers in New Japan.
Yeah, okay.
So now we have the situation where the Seth Rollins fandom has risen from its grave, which it had kind of been in sort of a food coma for 2 years because of all the stuff that had been happening with Steph with the knee injury and him being relegated back down to the tag scene and the mid card, and him having to tag with the greatest member of the Shield, Jason Jordan.
Who's supposed to be back soon. Okay.
Taker is losing his mind now.
For those of you that don't know what I just said, it says, I don't give a flying fuck about Jason Jordan. He can rot on the vine as far as I'm concerned.
So evil.
I mean, that's the thing right now is that, clearly they're going to be pushing Seth up to the main part of the card at this point, and heck, he might even be the one to beat Brock Lesnar.
Tell everybody what you really think of Jason.
Did you hear that?
I think he already did, but
Yeah, she said, "Tell everybody what you really think of Jason Jordan." I already did.
The whole.
She knew what I was thinking.
You're telling me.
Same thing I've told her several times. Jason Jordan's one of I want to change the channel, and if it's on TiVo, fast forward.
Hi, I'm Jason Jordan. I'm super happy. I might be Kurt Angle's legitimate son, or I might be making this Machiavellian angle where I'm trying to rip him off. You happy people! I'm also the greatest member of the Shield, by the way. I love his gimmick right now. It's like, it's just obnoxious to the point of 20. And I know for Taker, it is like he's after having to deal with the horrors that is Miz.
Oh.
Okay, I made the comparison.
Although I will say this much, since the birth of his child, he has changed somewhat. He's not as irritating. He's getting more entertaining. He doesn't seem to be as condescending towards other wrestlers. Although he does do his share of shit stirring.
Well, sleep deprivation does wonder.
Yeah. Before that, is this
guy
falling?
Do I
is
like
this guy
him?
Falling?
Do I like Miz? No.
Is this guy falling?
But I will give him credit when credit is due.
Are pigs flying?
Maybe.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet at this point, although. So basically, at this point, well, sleep deprivation does wonders for a person.
Yes.
In the Miz's case, basically, it's sleep deprivation.
Well, Legends Lover just said it best because I guess earlier this week I was watching something on the network and it had Miz on it, and he was at home, and she said, "Miz is an ass, but when he is around his father, oh boy, is it different."
Oh.
His dad's a bigger ass than Miz is. So it's pretty rough. I see where he gets it from.
Well, he's a small town boy he's from Parma, Ohio, okay? If I expected somebody from Parma, Ohio to actually act normal for once, then
it's got to be something in the water in Ohio.
Yeah.
Because you got Miz from Parma. We've got Alexa Bliss. She's from Ohio. She's what, Cincinnati, right? No, Cleveland.
Cleveland, I think.
And so is Dana Brooke. But the two quote unquote heels, Miz and Alexa Bliss, God, they're just.
Oh, actually,
I can't stand a moment of bliss. That's another thing I hit the fast forward button.
It's not Cincinnati. She's from Columbus, Ohio. Alexa Bliss. The one from Cincinnati, Ohio, is one Dean Ambrose.
That's right.
Which is sadly forgotten. Somehow Dean Ambrose has been. Well, he's coming back. He is making a comeback, but
when
he has been, I don't know. Probably late June, early.
Kurt don't know either. So don't ask him.
I don't know.
He's come out publicly and said, "I don't know. People quit asking me."
Who's Dean gonna maul? The beloved Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins?
Both of them are beloved in their own way, so
that's a tough one.
Dean might just maul both.
Knowing his personality, probably will either be Seth or will be somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to say the least.
I mean, the thing is with Raw, they're actually doing really solid TV matches at this point. Their main events have been really solid lately after being criticized for what seems like eons about their main event structure. And
although I will say this much, I've seen the main event with Finn Balor and Strowman. That was a match that
happened.
No, it was actually pretty good. You're seeing someone of very small stature take on the biggest, strongest, most powerful man on the roster, is Braun Strowman, and you actually got to see the small man chop him down, literally.
I mean, I don't really mind that fact, but it's proving to be an entertaining prospect because, well, here's a guy who's supposedly unstoppable, and somehow another gutsy defender come up and actually went on toe-to-toe with the big guy. So
Strowman didn't do his normal stick at the end of the match either. After the match was over, normally he does the running body slam one more time. He picked up Balor, has him like he's going to do it, walks over to the corner, stands him up, and pats him on the shoulder, walks away. And he turns and looks back at him and nods his head.
respect.
You saw there was a thing of respect there, which is something you wouldn't expect from Braun Strowman whatsoever.
Oh, of course not, unless he's setting Finn Balor up for a greater fall by mauling him again. But hey, at least that didn't happen, and at least it shows it shows another facet of Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman as a character, where he'll hand respect when it's given, when it's due,
Or when it's
he's
earned.
when it's earned, he'll give that.
So
So so in a way, it is a win for Finn.
Yep, it was because he won respect from Braun Strowman, which is something you don't see.
I mean, again, like you said, to quickly wrap it up and move to SmackDown. This week was meh. I think I think the most of the criticism has been levied over the role of Roman Reigns now and the whole bloated thing, the whole bloated segment, which the overemphasis was over on Stephanie McMahon, even though I say she actually just brought eyeballs. She just brought attention. At least I think in the most positive spin that I can take it, at least she brought eyeballs to the segments that she was in. Because because like I said, for example, for the Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax thing, if you don't slot in Stephanie McMahon, you'd have Punch, as what Fizz would say, face off against the world's greatest invisible wrestler. So,
Yeah.
Would you still have focus in that?
Now the big question is this: how they got about 4 weeks now, right?
Yeah, about 4 weeks.
How long? How often are they going to be in Stamford and at the PC working this match out between those two? Because mind you, this is Ronda Rousey's. This will be Ronda Rousey's very first singles match.
I think she'll be fine.
Oh, I think she'll do fine too, but it's going to be heavily scripted and rehearsed.
Oh yeah. Oh wait,
because
I
think
you got Ronda Rousey right now, who's green as grass, and Nia Jax, who's come a long way in the time she's been here, but she's still pretty green. As your women's Raw Women's Championship match. That's the interesting part.
And if you guys haven't forgotten, Ronda Rousey actually did a house show, and she actually did herself well in a house show. So probably, I don't know. I don't know the over under on the whole thing. Just that, to me personally, I think that house shows is where people say that okay, this is basically a test to see whether you can actually thrive on a stage that's not actually pay-per-view, but still it's a live stage. And she did well.
Yeah, but she did well when it was tag team.
Still, again, it's a match.
Yeah. And to you naysayers out there that she's part-time and she's not working house shows, she is now.
Yeah. She's been working house shows. That's been the thing that she's been doing.
And people still, once she gets the title, she's going to be like Brock. I don't think so, people. I really don't.
I think basically what they're going to do at Ronda is they're going to have her have the title for maybe about 6 months, and maybe I think she'll likely drop it at Survivor Series and then have her be the challenger either at the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. I know that people are thinking that she's going to be the one that, is going to hold the title belt at WrestleMania. I'm like, you want Ronda Rousey to hold the title belt, actually. See,
she will bring so many people in.
Yeah, well, not just that. Not just that. Remember my theory about title belts. I generally do not like it when somebody that I like gains a title belt. Okay. I know that sounds extremely strange in the pro wrestling standpoint of this, but when it comes to WWE and championship belts, you want your favorite wrestler to not have the belt. Because the minute that they get the belt, that they're going to be stuck in they're going to be stuck in a very projected scripting, which has been the same kind of scripting that has been used for the dawn of time since the territory days onwards. The championship scripting, the fighting champion, cowardly champion, middle of the road babyface champion. You're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck in those routes of storytelling when you're the champion. When you're not the champion, you have some flexibility as far as which storyline directions you can go into.
So basically, you're saying that Ronda Rousey should be the one chasing the title.
Well,
She can actually get...
Well, Ronda is the one that should be getting the title. First and foremost, because I want to literally... Because I guess me and Taker seem to be... You, me and Taker and yourself, we're kind of the sort of people that like seeing the explosions around us, not for funsies or anything like that, but for, in my case, data. It's interesting to look at the data as to how these people are going to react to when their fave doesn't get the shiny thing.
Ah, okay.
And if Ronda gets the shiny thing, there's going to be a massive explosion on Twitter about people getting angry about the fact that it should have just been a regular women's wrestler roster member. It should have been one of the ones who pioneered. And like, the thing is,
I agree with you 100%, Fizz, on that, and that's, but I'm also of the belief, I understand where you're coming from, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
Oh yeah.
The title should not make the wrestler. The wrestler is supposed to make the title. Perfect example. And I'm giving credit to someone that I cannot stand.
The Miz.
The Miz.
There you go.
He made that title. He made the IC title important and relevant because of his ability to talk, his in-ring work. Over the last 2 years, the Miz has improved. He's improved since he main evented WrestleMania to now.
Yeah.
I say you could slot him into the WWE title picture against AJ Styles, and we'd have some hellacious matches.
Sure.
Agreed.
I think
because I think he already proved his pedigree on that one, so there's no denying that. Come what may, if he gets a shot at the title, he fully deserves it.
Yes,
no
he
questions
does.
asked.
That's me talking positive about the Miz. No, the sky is not falling. It's what I'm seeing.
And in that particular instance, in case it is a positive, and it is not like the sky is falling or anything like that. I think we're on a. I'm not disagreeing with you about that the wrestler makes the title. It's more along the lines of if your favorite wrestler gets the shiny thing, then I suddenly have a very little interest in what your story is going to do. It's not that I hate that person who holds the title or that the wrestler is making the title belt mean something. It's just I don't have a big belief in shiny things because the shiny thing, like the IC title for a few years actually was cursed. There seemed to be some kind of legitimate curse on that IC title because every single time that somebody got that title, they got
hurt.
They got horribly injured, or in Ryback's case, he ran into some green things and that disagreed with him.
Yeah. Staph infection. Yeah.
Oh, poor guy.
A salad defeated Ryback.
Yeah.
Poor
Speaking
guy.
of salad, nice thing that you mentioned that, Fizz. My wife picked up something from where she works called a salad bowl. It's a potted various types of lettuce. So I can honestly say it's something organically grown because she's not giving it any food of any kind. It's huge. And she just harvested some of it today, so I'll have that for dinner tonight. So yeah, organic lettuce. Go figure.
Yep.
Food segues.
But, the thing is, in this particular, it's not that I have an issue with the wrestler making the title belt or anything. It's more along the lines of WWE title belts to the majority of the fan base. And I know that it's a positive that they're so obsessed about the title belts that their person should be the champion or this person should be the champion or that. It's gotten to the point where it's very obsessive compulsive, self-fulfilling prophecy there about your fave winning the title belt over what would be the reasonable and logical thing, which would be, in this particular case, Ronda wins the title belt, then they can refocus their efforts and actually be able to refocus their efforts on the rest of the women's division on Raw. And as far as SmackDown's concerned, they're already refocusing their efforts on rebuilding that roster on that side of things, and their women's division's actually doing okay.
With Carmella, yeah, I won't deny that, yeah.
And the thing is that right now with the women's division, and I've been saying this for years, steady, balanced progress. Not
Slow
the
and steady.
emotional highest of highs, the emotional highest of highs, the flag waving, all that kind of stuff, or the lowest
Why
of
does
lows. Just balance, solid booking. Balance,
Why
solid
does that
booking. Quietly go about it. Not like scream from the top of the rooftops of the heavens. Just go about it, business as usual. Business
Taker,
as
why does
usual.
that Taker, why does that remind me of a song? Highest the highs, the lowest the
Because it is in a song.
Oh, okay.
You
I
know,
know I'm not crazy. Yeah, I agree. And
the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. It basically right now in this
Nice wide world of sports,
Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling is actually based off of ABC's Wide World of Sports. That's where part of the title actually comes from. I used to be a regular Wide World of Sports watcher when it was active in the late 1990s.
interesting.
I was watching it in the 70s, man.
I've seen the classic episodes.
That's where I got my first exposure to sumo. Was on Wide World of Sports. Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
They didn't explain anything then. But
They just showed it and just here's your basic sumo stuff. Please enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's either the peak or the valley. There's no in between. There's no in the middle for whatever reason. Either it's because the culture's changed or things have happened in society and whatnot. But that's a whole other kettle of fish. But in the world of professional wrestling, we're right now in the midst of a Son Goku period where Senju talked about the 4 pillars of heaven. I've talked about the 4 pillars philosophy that I've had. You've got wrestlers, you've got wrestling media, you've got wrestling personalities, and you got pro wrestling fans. Yes, they're all different. Each of them has their own different subset or clan, guiding their chosen champions or mighty warriors against one another in what has basically become the equivalent of one of the biggest bloodbaths since the Sengoku period.
Yep.
Why I dubbed it the Sengoku period, because it was the bloodiest history. That was the bloodiest conflict in Japanese history. 66 clans went against one another for the title of who gets to be the king boss of all of Japan.
Basically, who gets to be the Yakuza boss of all Japan, but hey.
the emperor, the shogun, the daimyo, whatever you call it, That's the same thing that's going on right now. The wrestlers want to take back control of what they felt that they have lost. There's a lot of movement going on in that direction. The wrestling media people, there's a transitional period going on where everybody is eyeing that golden throne, that golden throne of swords. And they're attempting to basically Game of Thrones one another at this point to see who gets to be the top person in the media circle.
So you're saying so basically you're saying that WWE is House Lannister or something like that?
No, actually, when it comes to wrestling media people, it's Melts and everybody else.
Okay. There you go.
So you have that conflict, and the media people are actually far more vicious than the pro wrestlers are at feuding with one another, in my experience of noticing them on the Twitters and whatnot.
Hence why you don't see me come out on Twitter with my opinions too often.
Interesting. So
I wait till Saturday, or I say them on other forums.
So basically, you have the whole independent wrestling promotions battling out with WWE in a kind of like a battle royale.
Battling it out with them, with each other, as well as with WWE, Ring of Honor, and TNA, because independent promotions, if you haven't noticed, have a bit of an inferiority complex about being considered regional.
Yeah, but here we have that in a bloody shogunate Sengoku period kind of style, and then we have the wrestling media who are battling against each other, and also with the wrestling promotion in a sense of Game of Thrones kind of way with the houses and all that. Where's the happy medium? Where is the happy medium that we can find on this one?
And you add in the wrestling personalities that are allied with the various different wrestling promotions and are basically, they're carnival barkers. They're the modern interpretation of a carnival barker at this point. They constantly promote various different promotions, or they promote various different wrestlers, and they have a variety of thoughts and opinions, but they're not usually regulars on writing sites. Is what the definition of a wrestling personality is. They're selling you on their personality or their gimmick, or they actually believe that they have a gimmick. It's wacky, it's insane, but at the same time, you have them going against what would be considered the wrestling fans. And the definition of a wrestling fan has just changed so much over the last 100 years, because I believe that the terminology of mark and smark is incredibly outdated. You may have noticed every time that you hear me on a podcast, I don't use the terminology mark or smark. I often use the terminology of intellectual. Because for those of you who don't know what a mark is a person who is an individual that gets conned by somebody. That's an old carnival slang term that was incorporated into professional wrestling. Getting conned by somebody, or about to be conned by somebody who doesn't know what exactly is going on. That's not the case anymore. First and foremost, because professional wrestling isn't trying to con anybody at this point, on a somewhat
either
of a
money or
it's a legitimate business.
Yeah, they're not doing the 3-card Molly on you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a legitimate business. Pro wrestling is a legitimate business. Now, if the wrestlers and the wrestling promoters could actually understand that what they are doing is legitimate business, maybe some of this insanity in these independent promotions might slow down actually for a little bit. But then again, we're asking professional wrestlers and likewise retired professional wrestlers who have become professional wrestling promoters, or the people that they refer to as, I hate that terminology, money mark.
Oh,
okay.
Right.
Money mark? No, that's your business partner. That's a person that has capital, that has funds, that is investing into this idea of starting a professional wrestling promotion. Why are you referring to these people as basically second-class citizens? Because whenever you say the word money mark, that's what you're basically implying. Always had issue with that terminology, because I'm a business owner. I own a small business. I look at things from a business owner's perspective in this particular instance, and you see the lights shining suddenly, like I'm opening up about all this. It's like, why are you treating your business partners like they're basically disposable commodities? There has to be a balance there. If you want professional wrestling to be treated seriously in the various different states that are struggling to get professional wrestling back on its feet, stop blaming Vince for your failures. Take some responsibility. Take your licks, take your punches. Get back up and start doing things what would be considered a professional business way. Not in the professional wrestling, this business way, but as an actual business. Because you can still do some elements of the carnival. You can still do professional wrestling gimmicks. You can still do personalities. You can still treat it as whatever sport you can. But the business side of things has to be of the philosophy of, we're not conning our customers anymore. Honesty, which is one of the dirty words in professional wrestling. Honesty. You have to be honest. You have to bring the community into the circus tent and say, okay, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Professional wrestling, kayfabe being broken, probably was the thing that actually saved the sport. Saved professional wrestling as a whole. Because it got rid of the excessive pressure of wrestlers having to basically, faces have to hang around with faces, heels have to hang around with heels. And this was actually something that when my dad was working as a hunting and fishing tour guide, and he had to work with professional wrestlers on a boat because he was their hunting and fishing guide, one of the things he would regularly complain about to management, and this was WWF management, mind you, was he was annoyed by the factor that The faces were in the faces locker room and the heels were in the heels locker room. He also worked as a security guard in Orlando. So he didn't get what they were doing. Didn't really care for it either. Because he saw the psychological damage. And even though that he wasn't a guy that was very versed in therapy or psychological stuff, he could understand it from a basic level that this was not healthy for them. And one of the rules that he dictated on the boat when he did hunting and fishing tours, you don't talk about work on the boat. You are yourself on the boat. You're not in a gimmick. You are yourself in the boat. And that was the freakiest thing for these people, which is like every time that my dad goes to a Legends show, and he does not like professional wrestling. I should mention this explicitly. Does not like professional wrestling in the slightest. He is a guy that is a pure fan of martial arts. He is not a fan of work stuff like professional wrestling is. And every time a Legends wrestler looks up in the stands and sees my dad sitting with me, and the only reason he is because he attends because I like professional wrestling. And it's a fun thing for us to do as a family. And every time a Legends wrestler looks up in the stands and they see him and they go, and every time they mouth, "Oh my God, he's still alive," which should tell you something about my dad. He survived in Florida for 10 years in the 1980s. Literally survived.
He has got wrestlers scared of him.
Wrestlers are scared of him. He's crazier than the wrestlers. This is a guy that was, at that time in the 80s, was 5'11", 150 pounds soaking wet. Could fight with the best of them. Fought black belts. Fought ex-military guys. Fought 1%ers in bar brawls. Fought 500-pound rednecks. He would fight anybody. And he was one of the guys who looked, even though he's Native American, he looked white. He once ran a crew of Orange Grove people, which for those of you who aren't aware of Orange Grove people, that's mainly Haitians and Cubans.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, he ran an entire crew. Once got into a machete sword wielding duel with one of them that got high on cocaine and managed to not only survive but disarm the guy and get him to the hospital. Okay. Yeah. So basically, in the equivalent terms, my dad scares the bejesus out of professional wrestlers, and professional wrestling is the reason why my dad's still alive, because he was out on the boat every week with them. And when you're stuck on a sand barge, and it's of course it's the death anniversary of a certain wrestler. The person that got me interested in professional wrestling was when the day he died. And that person was Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh, okay.
My dad was stuck on a sand barge with that guy.
Yeah, that story has been told. That story is very famous on your side.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very famous or infamous.
What's funny about it is that he brought a sense of normality whenever he was on the boat with the wrestlers. They could actually be themselves. And in Randy's case, it was basically burning a barbecue grill at the top of the boat and burning the fiberglass. Every week, a $20 small barbecue grill from Zares was sacrificed to the barbecue gods. And what's so funny about this is everybody talks about kayfabe and all this other kind of stuff and the damages that it oftentimes causes. My dad actually kept kayfabe far longer than anybody else, any wrestler. Because he didn't care about the industry. Didn't care about talking about his misspent days of youth. Is what he calls them. He kept kayfabe until Randy died. 2011. He met these guys in 87. He kept it longer than they did. Okay.
Well.
That was like, it's over 20 years. Didn't talk about wrestling stories until 2011, 2012. How he had whited cheese with Andre the Giant.
Ooh, that's cool.
Or how Bobby Heenan invited all the security guards because they were under contract with Pinkerton, to
Ooh,
dinner with the
okay.
wrestlers.
Wow. Okay.
Bobby Heenan basically understood that these guys grew up very similar to how he grew up in Chicago. Poor, working class guys trying to eke out a living, trying to survive in a dangerous, hostile environment. You know, so if you wrestling purists out there want to blame a person for the idea of possibly getting into the wrestlers' heads of breaking kayfabe, technically my dad might have been one of the first to start objecting to it.
That's fair enough. But let's get on to SmackDown.
Well,
Raw was a show that basically happened, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay. What should I nitpick on What should we nitpick on SmackDown? Because even though it's an average show, at least SmackDown is better than Raw. If you want to make a comparison on that line,
yeah.
Because I don't see a lot points to nitpick. One of the main focus I'd say is that, okay, would the current story of New Day lead to a breakup on New Day?
I don't know if it will or not.
I don't see it happening right now, but the one, in my opinion, that needs to be in the ladder match at Money in the Bank is E. He right now is of the three. Either of the three, it goes in this order: Big E, Kofi, then Woods. And yeah, Kofi's been in several of them, and he's not one. So I have a feeling that they're going to lean towards Kofi being in it and winning it, and getting his gold watch run with the title. That's the only title left. He's had the IC, he's had the US, and he's had the tag team. What's left? They've been making Grand Slam winners like crazy the last 18 months.
The question is, in this situation, is he actually interested? Because I think he's pretty happy where he is right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure he is, but the thing about it is that, he isn't getting any younger.
I know he isn't getting any younger.
He would be a perfect candidate. I mean, everybody, and I don't care, everybody loves Kofi for the stunts he does in the Royal Rumble matches that he's done. The Kofi spot. I mean, everybody every year looks forward to Kofi being in there and doing something to keep his second foot from touching the floor.
But yeah, like Chris said, would he be interested? Would he? I mean, okay. The positive thing that I could say about it is that, okay, no one dislikes getting a push. No one dislikes getting a chance to prove themselves on a bigger stage once again, especially the ones that have been out from it for so long and then suddenly find themselves, okay, we're gonna give you a chance. We're gonna give you another chance or a last chance or something like that to prove yourself. Is he interested still? After all these years,
that can answer that question is him.
Mm-hmm.
Would he turn it down? Probably not.
Of course not. It's a way to get him back on the big stage for the final time, maybe for the last time.
Yeah.
I don't know if last time I would say last time. I think it's more along the lines of, I think if it's going to be a wrestler who's going to be in the Money in the Bank match, it's either going to be Xavier or E.
Oh, of course, yeah. If it's a Money in the Bank, then yeah, I'd say E. They're the ones who should deserve a more prominent screen time, I think. If it's fair for me to say so.
Although Xavier has improved by leaps and bounds.
Oh, he has been improving ever since he got knocked out from the whole Brodus Clay thing with the Funkadactyls and all that, and up until he started.
I think that was a mistake, putting him with them, and I think WWE realized it.
he bounced back on that and then just started off with a new thing altogether.
Yep.
Somehow the new thing leads to this. The New Day.
Which was the worst heel. They were terrible as heels.
Worst heel introduction, I think. I think it's the
Yeah.
worst heel introduction rather than the worst heels. They're not
Well,
not that
they started out as heels, and then they ended up as baby faces, and then they got so annoying that they basically turned it into
turned
sort of
heel.
this. Well, they turned it into sort of what I call a tweener gimmick.
Okay.
Well,
I think
if you look at the Usos, they were the face paint kings of the world and everything like that. Beloved as faces, turned heel, had gotten an edge on themselves, and now, believe it or not, are organically faces again. The crowd did it. They're not changing the way they acted. The crowd has done it, similar to what they did with Undertaker. You know, right now SmackDown, I think right now is slightly better, the slightly better product lately. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I couldn't remember the matches.
No, because I'm more focusing on.
And the thing about it is that that's a good show, because I remember things that are bad, but when it comes when things are good, it's something that's like I have nothing really to say. You know, there are high points. There were a lot of high points, not very many low. Other than Lana winning. Well, that was on. Was it on Raw? Lana winning,
SmackDown.
Lana winning by squash over Billie Kay, which caused some controversy.
It's a good. I think it's a good enough controversy to be talked about. It's just.
I mean, are they going to put the case on Lana?
I don't think they are.
It would be funny as hell if Rusev and Lana both had a case, though, wouldn't it?
It would be, but do you want the whole place to go nuclear again?
Why not? Why not? I would love to sit back and eat popcorn and watch the Bailey burn to the ground.
I was just about to say, wait, I don't want to ask that because I know the answer. Because more likely than not, I'll be there sitting beside you eating the popcorn as well, watching the world burn. So.
Well, I'll be annoyed as heck because of the fact that Rusev has has the case, or less so with Lana, because again I feel like the thing is that I've noticed a little bit of obsessive compulsive disorder when it comes to Lana. That's like the whole blame Lana gimmick. Basically, that's what it is. It's a gimmick. I'm like, do we not notice the Bulgarian is constantly messing up on certain occasions? I like Rusev as a wrestler. He's okay. He's solid. He's somebody who has a different look, a different gimmick. But at the same time, he is torpedoed his own career just as badly. Lana maybe has put a little bit of lighter fluid there, but he's the one that's lighting the match. So I think that the idea that Lana is the sole factor for Rusev's issues of pushes, I would disagree with that. I think it's a little bit more of a balance, more 75% Rusev doing things that are idiotic and 25% Lana being Lana.
Fizz winning the story time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so as far as Lana winning a spot in the match, I'm fine with it because there's so many different people in the match, and they're probably going to have a tag match of the sort on the pre-show with the rest of the lady wrestlers. I think, isn't Peyton Royce already in the Money in the Bank match?
Peyton Royce is already. Wait. Yes. What? I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Peyton Royce is already in. So logically, it's a good idea to separate her from Billie Kay as far as this particular matches goes.
No,
Because
Peyton Royce isn't in the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Oh, she isn't?
No.
Okay.
She lost her qualifier too. Both of them lost.
Okay. Well, that means that they're gonna be in a tag match on the pre-show then, if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I'm sort of relieved about, because as much as the thing is that Peyton's so robotic that it's not going to be terribly interesting to see her in the Money in the Bank match, and Billy Kay's had a lot of injury issues, and you can clearly see it's affected her ring work.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I'm more interested in seeing Lana at this point in the spot than, say, Billy Kay. So who's in the Money in the Bank match right now?
Women's side?
Yeah.
Let's see. Lana, Natty, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Naomi.
Okay, let me list it down.
I think that's 5 I know of. I know there's one spot left.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, you have 8. So repeat back again, or do you want me to run down the whole list?
I've got Lana, Becky,
Yep.
Charlotte,
Yep.
Natty,
Yep.
Naomi.
Okay, you missed Alexa Bliss and
Bliss,
Ember Moon.
And Ember Moon.
And Ember
That's
Moon.
right. And there's one spot left from Raw. And
That hasn't been announced yet. So
you got a gauntlet match Monday night for it.
Yeah.
Yep. Which means, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see where this goes, because Bailey and Sasha are in the match
You
together.
got Bailey, Sasha, Ruby Riott,
Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan, I think.
Liv Morgan, yeah. One other. There's 6 of them total.
Yeah, so you have that particular match, which is going to be really interesting, because the Riot Squad's going to be utterly decimated by the destruction that's probably going to be caused in that particular match. Now, like I said, a lot of people still seem to be thinking that Sasha's turning heel.
Bailey.
Nope. Her. Bailey.
The
volcano, like Mount Kilauea at this point, it's going to erupt.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
it's gonna be a big eruption.
I mean, because here's the thing.
Kilauea right now has got 21 fissures going all at once, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
So, and Bailey's going to have 22 when she melts down.
They did a apology angle a few weeks back where they apologize to one another. I'm like, oh, I know. I know where this is going. This is.
I've got the perfect meme for Bailey melting down too. I just got to find it. Or perfect
gift reaction
gift that dances. Go back to Chen Kenichi.
Chen Kenichi, okay.
From Iron Chef.
Yep.
They show the picture of the molten lava that is splashing.
Yeah.
The sparting. That's going to be Bailey when she melts down. God, I would love to find that chip. That would be great.
I mean, basically, if folks, the reason that they've been stocking up on the women's divisions lately is because I think they are going to do some retools with some of their wrestlers. And one of the wrestlers that likely is going to be getting a retool will probably be Bailey, and will also probably be Ruby Riott. Ruby
and possibly Becky Lynch.
Okay, we'll see where that goes with Becky.
Well, Becky needs something. She needs something to revitalize herself.
I think she's right now at this point in a solid position. It depends entirely if they want to go face or if they want to go heel with her.
Well, they lost their best. SmackDown lost their best carpenter to Raw.
Yeah,
that was Natty,
who is now in the Money in the Bank women's match, which it's going to be interesting to see her in there.
Yeah. Not exactly a bad thing, that's for sure.
No. Basically, the match with Lana was pretty good. I'm trying to. What was it? Oh God, what's his name? Aiden English. Has a sign of Lana Day, and the crowd went with it. That was great. And Peyton Royce had to go stick her nose in his face, and then Lana does a suicide dive through the ropes and knocks Peyton Royce down, and then slams. Before the match even started, they're fighting outside the ring. Throws her up in the ring. The bell rings. Kicks her in the head. Face plants her. 1, 2, 3, done. Match is done in 30 seconds. It's like, Holy shit.
Which is surprising. Yeah, which is surprising.
Lana's greatest match since her debut at Money in the Bank as a wrestler.
Which I gave her a lot of credit for that first match with Naomi because she did quite well, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And she now is the reason why everybody has to wear stockings because she had a bit of a wardrobe malfunction and we saw a little too much.
Well, sometimes you get unlucky with the
Well,
wardrobe.
the thing is, with Lana in this situation, a lot of people are having the meltdown of her being in the match in the first place. Look, folks, I don't think Lana's winning the case at this point. It's not a definite. It's
how blonde how beautiful a blonde she is, and she's got such a body on her. Oh,
blonde.
Was that
okay?
Vince? Was that you?
No,
Vince?
no, it's not Vince. It's the majority of the fandom suddenly going off once again on Lana. Because, once again, the whole fantasy thing, which I go, why? Like, okay, I just like when it comes to both sides of the wrestling spectrum, I go, why? I see them as athletes, not whatever the hell heck they
I
say.
do too, Fizz. Don't get me wrong. I was just being sarcastic.
Oh, I know you are, man.
We
I know, but it's just I've seen either they're talking about how hot the blondes are, or they're complaining about the fact that the blondes have the championship belts. Which
Wrestling fandom can never be satisfied.
I mean, yes, it's like it's basically
or in the famous words of Bill Cosby with the dentist skit, I hope that you were satisfied.
Well, basically, in this particular case, it's less the dentist and more Galactus. Galactus eats planets. For those of you who don't know, guy is never satisfied. Basically, for the cosmic balance of the universe, he eats planets.
Yep.
The Galactus's hunger is never sacified.
Of course not.
I have found the sound that Alexa Bliss's voice reminds me of.
Oh, no.
The dental drill.
Oh, okay.
The dental drill. That's the sound. That's Alexa Bliss's voice for me right now.
I mean, and besides the fact, Alexa's hair isn't even blonde. She actually has highlights in it that are different colors.
Yes. She's not exactly blonde. She's highlight. She
I'm
has
sure
layered
the carpet
color.
doesn't match the drapes, but I digress. Let's look at her eyebrows. They're black. They're brown. That's a giveaway, folks.
I did not go.
And the same thing, like Charlotte, I'm like, I don't care that she's blonde. She looks like a stork. Okay, she fits the wrestling mold. Because here's the thing, folks, about me when it comes to wrestlers and their attractiveness. I don't care for attractiveness in pro wrestling. I want to see you as ugly as Sid because that's how I see professional wrestlers as.
Oh,
okay.
So you like the more the Moolah look.
It was more along the lines of Bull Nakano. Bull Nakano is currently the template for wrestlers who have a look about them. Or if you're a male wrestler, a guy who looks like that they just got out of the factory.
Yeah. Brooklyn Brawler type.
Not Brooklyn Brawler. I'm thinking more along the lines of Mad Dog Vacon.
Mad Dog Vacon.
Or Paul the Butcher.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay. I think the summation of it is that SmackDown isn't that bad. It's just I think it's more paint by the numbers rather than Raw, which is just meh.
I think
Raw was meh.
Raw was meh.
Was
okay. It's all right.
It was okay. It was a serviceable show. Like I said, I don't have too many bad memories, so that's a good thing.
I think both shows are even at this point. One of the things that we have to remember at this point is that last year when the brand split was announced, there was this whole competition to see which brand was better. Raw, SmackDown, wave the red and blue flag.
We're well into this.
Burn the villages, burn down the enemies, take the women and children. The brand shall be superior.
No. What's the goal? What's the goal in life? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's
Quick
the goal?
segue, Fizz. I asked this question of MDS before the show. I'm going to ask this question of you.
Mhm.
I threw an idea out to MDS, and I'm going to throw it out to the people that are listening and those who will listen. I hope that you guys let me know how you feel about it.
Uh-huh.
We know that sumo is a true meritocracy, correct?
Correct. Fizz?
Fizz?
What's a meritocracy?
Sumo.
Okay.
Sumo is a true meritocracy. You do
Meritocracy.
well, you're promoted. You do poorly, you're demoted.
Yeah.
All right. Why can't WWE take a page from that?
I think they do.
We know right now we have two brands.
Mhm.
They each have their own champion, which I would call the Ozeki.
Yeah.
Where are the Yokozunas?
Well, the one Yokozuna is in Canada, and the other one is repeatedly. It has a very high pitched voice right now.
Who the hell has a picture boy?
But you get my point.
Yeah.
Add a layer of championships, and they're like the Yokozunas.
Mhm.
The Ozekis are the brand champions, and then the Sekiwakis are the IC and US titles.
Mhm.
But on the women's side, you don't have a third title. You only have the two. You have the Yokozuna and the Ozeki.
Mhm.
What would be wrong with that?
Well, a grand championship for the women's division.
There's enough now.
I mean, I know there's enough now, but at the same time, I think the first thing that people are going to want, the thing that people have been saying is that they want tag belts.
Well, I don't have that for tags. It's just for the men and the women. You have because you basically got Raw and SmackDown. You can consider them East and West.
Oh yeah, no. And they are doing the traditional stable thing with both East and West. From that perspective, no, what I'm saying is that people want women's division tag belts. They're not really interested in having a grand champion from either Raw or SmackDown representing the top of the women's division with a grand championship. Can you imagine the number of civil wars that would be happening as people would be picking out their favorites?
Well, let's put it to the test. Look at the civil wars that are going on amongst sumo fandom. They don't right now currently do not have a Japanese Yokozuna. He's out injured, possibly going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
We've got two Mongolians.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Traditionalists, as you said it yourself, MDS, traditionalists are going to say the Yokozuna, we must be Japanese. So I pose the question again.
Mm-hmm.
Something like this with WWE having a grand champion of the women and a grand champion of the men.
Mm-hmm.
Would that not work?
You're asking WWE to create a new championship belt after the disaster that was the Beef Jerky Championship of Champions. I think we both know this answer. It will be a flaming disaster, but it will be a disaster that will be extremely fun to watch. Much like, I forgot to talk about this earlier. I probably am one of the few people on the planet right now that is really interested in seeing Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal.
Ooh, okay.
That would be a good match. I would pay money to see that match.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we're going to have Seth Rollins we're going to have Jinder Mahal versus Seth Rollins.
First and foremost, I think.
Oof.
What money I wouldn't give to see Roman Reigns suddenly just storm down and just hammer both Jinder Mahal and Seth Rollins and just call it a disqualification match.
That could turn, as beloved as Seth is as a face right now, that would be the perfect way. That would be another way we could turn Roman heel. Mm-hmm. He just comes out and destroys both of them and really destroys Seth Rollins.
Well, Jinder Mahal at this point is getting babyface reactions for facing against our beloved Roman Reigns.
Yes.
He's already a heel. It's just that the storyline has basically pointed him in the direction of being a babyface for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Even when everybody and their grandmother is currently booing the bejesus out of the guy. So you have a situation. I suspect what's going to happen here is we're going to develop into either A,
Okay.
Seth loses the belt on Raw.
Oh
Ooh.
God, please.
Or B.
Seth
What's the other
Rollins
one?
Seth Rollins loses the belt on Raw, ends up getting
Mhm.
inserted into the Money in the Bank match as a
Mhm.
last minute replacement because usually in Money in the Bank storylines, one or two of the competitors that gets into that match usually ends up out of that match to start a new feud. So Seth
Okay.
Rollins gets inserted into the Money in the Bank match. He wins the briefcase, and we have a situation where on a random Raw somewhere, or he pulls an RVD and challenges Brock Lesnar for the championship belt.
Well, everybody is clamoring for that, actually.
Mhm.
The noises about Seth Rollins trying to get the Universal title back again from Brock Lesnar is something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I think if you posed that question to me about 4 or 5 months ago, I would say, nah, I don't want to.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. That's the thing. You have, and then the other option is, of course, they have a triple threat match in Money in the Bank, and Seth ends up losing the championship.
All right. Quick question, Fizz.
Yeah.
On sumo.
Yeah.
Before we
If
wrap
both,
up.
of course, and then we'll get out. I'm sorry we're running out of time, so we won't be able to talk to you about your beloved Liverpool versus Real Madrid.
Which is going to start at about 45 minutes from now. That's why I'm trying to.
Yeah, we're going to be wrapping it up here pretty quick. Tochi wins tonight. Kakuryu loses to Hakuho.
Mhm.
So there's a playoff. Is it one match or two?
One match.
Okay.
If it's free wrestlers, there's a couple of matches. If there's
Yeah, you
two
got to win.
wrestlers-
You got to win two in a row to win.
Yeah. Mhm.
Regardless of who you are.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious about that. Okay, so for all I know right now, and for all anybody else knows that's a sumo fan, we could have Kakuryu Haku or Kakuryu Toshinoshin again tonight.
Yeah.
If the cards fall right. Okay. It's been a fun show, guys.
Been a fun discussion rather than
Yes.
just talk about wrestling most of the time. I'm just
We've been-
usually if I point out stuff about wrestling, it's mostly just to generate the discussion around it because of the nitpicks or the compliments that we can give about the whole thing. But hey, it's fun, and plus, yeah, we're also talking other things rather than wrestling, which is sumo, which is good.
Yeah, and don't forget, you can catch us every Saturday at this time. So, Fizz,
Yeah.
where can they find you?
Okay, you can find me at Fitzpatrick14. I'm under the name of William Fitzpatrick on the Bird Thing, aka Twitter. I'm also on Cageside Seats under the name 14 Fitzpatrick, and I'm right now doing a bit of organizational work at this point, getting some stuff. I may have a pre-show for Cageside Speaks' Money in the Bank show because it's technically a big 5 pay-per-view at this point, so it kind of warrants that, as well as a show for Money in the Bank itself. So check your local listings, folks. Getting some things organized and set up all that way, as well as the fact I also have a secondary podcast, Series 2 of Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, because of all of the things that I've had to deal with in the early part of May. I've obviously had to delay that for a few weeks, but episode 42 should be coming out within the next couple of weeks here. Will be just a random Madly episode and whatnot, but yeah. Those two projects are going along relatively well, and today was a good day to talk about the world of professional wrestling, and a good day to talk about professional sumo. And Shooting the Breeds is a bit of a different podcast for me. I'm not in the role of a host at this point, or just as a co-host, and just sit back, relax, and watch the insanity fly around me. Although in this case, I've seemed to have been the least insane of the three.
No, you've been more insane. Because remember, you're the one that started laughing at the beginning of the show for no apparent reason.
Oh, you said that. Well, you said that basically was I was the person that created the monster, and therefore,
This is
like
the
any,
month.
like,
This is
like any traditional mad scientist would, who believes in experimentation in the world of professional wrestling, I do find it quite fascinating. This world that I am, I'm in this world of professional wrestling. It's a great experiment.
Okay, MDS.
Mhm.
Of course, where can they find you, kind sir?
They can find me on Twitter at Mr. Dr. Senju. That's MRDR Senju. You can also find me on Cageside Seats on the daily as well as the nightly. My name there is Mr. Dr. Senju with the whole long caption thing, Mr. Dr. Senju. Uh, when I have the time, I'll hang out. When I don't have the time or I'm busy, usually I don't. That it is how it is what it is. It is how it is. And since it's close to June, I am also trying to prepare myself to go to off on a vacation at the end of June. So there's that. You can also catch me on the official Shootin' the Breeze channel at SHOOTINDABREEZ1. Have a chat where both me and TakersMinion handle that. You have a chat, you can talk, ask questions, whatnot. Sure, this is a time where we were a little bit slow on the uptake, but because summer is coming along, we have big projects for you. We have big things to do. So
Yes.
catch on that. Catch on that. Where
We
can I
both
find
need
you?
to start poking our bears.
Yep, we are. We both need to start booking our bears. Where can I find you, Taker?
You can find me as always on Taker at Takers_Minion on the Twitter.
Yep.
You can also find me occasionally, in the daily and in the nightly. I have been absent pretty much the last 14 days. I got one more day, and then I'll be back full tilt. You can also
mostly because you were watching sumo, correct?
Because I've been in sumo world
Yes.
for the last 14 days. I'll admit it. And you know what? If people can't deal with it, that's on them.
It's a nice vacation for you, you know.
It is. It keeps me sane.
Mm-hmm.
Every other month, I go off on these little 15-day excursions into the world of sumo.
And then you just come out happy. Yeah.
I do. I really do. I mean, it to me, it's one of the last true combat sports.
Okay. Glad you think of it that way. Anyway, plugs.
I mean, where else could you go to see? I mean, I sit at work. I'm at work on average 7 hours a night.
Mm-hmm.
And I go in at 11 o'clock and it's already going on. I usually catch it in Makusha where they've got like 16, 18 matches.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got 14 more in Jurio. Then you got close to 20 in Makuuchi.
Mm.
So I get to see almost 45 matches, 45, 50 matches.
Yeah.
Granted, they last about on average 30 seconds. But still, the ceremony and the traditions and all that stuff, it helps keep me grounded. I've gone off a little bit too much now. I'm going to bring it back. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, you can catch the Connoisseurs of Wrestling. Yep. This week, we will be finishing up Bruno Sammartino. That was one of our first shows we did. It turned out it was going to be a two-parter.
Oh, now it's going to be a three-parter.
No, we never finished. We never did the second part. We moved over from Bruno. Okay. We went from Bruno to AWA.
And then to Bobby Heenan.
Then to Bobby Heenan for the last 2 weeks. So we're going to finish up Bruno, and then we're going to start doing if we do multi-parts, they're going to be one right after another.
Mm-hmm.
You got all our podcasts that we plug. I can't think of all of them. You're better at this than I am, MDS, so go for it.
Okay, you have the Cageside Seats affiliated podcast. We have Better Boys Club with Brent Brookhouse and Ethan Page. We have Not Your Demographic with Stunning Stella and Nightmare Erin. Keeping Up with the Kayfabe with Mark Riley, Jody May Esquire, and Jack King. And then finally, last but not least, Bros Before Elbows. Anthony, Farron, and Tommy are hosting them. So we also have the unaffiliated podcast. Some of these podcasts are under the banner of Los Ingobonobos, the podcast. Some of them are not. You can just ask which one is which. One of them is one of the ones under the banner of two guys. Under the banner of LIJ is Two Guys One Sport, featuring Crazy Chris Golden, George Constrictor Asavis. These guys are almost close to done on being out on their.
They should be back this coming Thursday.
Hiatus. They should be back on this coming Thursday, just as Dominion is starting up. Yeah,
I think calendar.
Another one would be Violent Wrestling Podcast with Ember Sally and Pres Masali Lopez. These guys are still doing their shows on an irregular basis. So there's that. We also
Internet
have
issues.
with internet issues and whatnot. We have Ruthless Aggression Podcast with Metal Matt, and as well Connoisseurs of Wrestling with TakersMinion, Biff Kensington, and Legends Lover, as well as Queen Seed Express with Biff Kensington and Ryan Sai. All these are under LIJ. The ones that are not under LIJ, Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, of course, with the gentleman right beside you, William Fitzpatrick. We have Match Fixing with Don Sal Guzmano. He's under Cedar Bridge Media. We have Ringside Geeks and For the Love of Wrestling. They are run by Miss Monroe and her boyfriend as well. So there's that. Also, two other podcasts which are under the MLW banner. Some Like the Wrestle with Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard, and What Happened When with Conrad Thompson and Tony Schiavone. As well, one other podcast which is under the banner of the WWE Network, Something Else to Wrestle with Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard. Correct?
That does it.
Yep. That
does it for episode 45.
I wish Liverpool luck against Real Madrid in about 45 minutes now. I need to watch it live.
That's good.
So I am going to sleep very, very late today. Hopefully Sal is just catching up the highlights while he's at work, or just doing stuff. If they won next week, you'll see a very, very annoying Mr. Dr. Senju.
Uh-oh.
Yes, you'll see a very, very annoying Mr. Dr. Senju singing praises about Liverpool and how they won the 6th.
And should Tochinoshin win, I will be the same.
Yes, both of us are going to be annoying as fuck.
That's right.
Just talking about.
All right.
This has been episode 45 of Shooting the Breeze again. I'm reveling in the madness, which is the title of the show for this week, and we did revel in our own madness. So there's that. For Fitzpatrick, for TakersMinion right there, I'm Mr. Dr. Senju. We'll catch you next week.
We'll see you all later. Episode 45 is done and over in the books. Bye, everyone.
Bye.